All right. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Now we've got some sound. Okay. Sorry about that. It wasn't even the cat this time. I don't know what the hell happened, but hopefully everything is good on that. And now if someone could give me a thumbs up now and just let me know that things are good, would it be very much appreciated. I see Ian Adams already. All right. Thanks, man. Thank you for putting up with that. Hope everybody's doing good. It is Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. Yeah. And I am Brandon, host of Brandon's Show. Let's see who we've got into chat tonight. Brandon's Escape. That's funny. I do own an Escape, actually. Neo the One. Flat for Life. What's up, Flat for Life? I noticed the other day that Streamlabs didn't kick off a donation you made for $10. So much appreciated, Flat for Life, in your comment, although it's probably way out of context. I'm not a bigwig, but you can think that I am. Lots of laughs. Thanks, George. So, sorry, a little delayed there, but better late than never, and appreciate the support.
Think that I am lol. Thanks, George.
If you want to donate to the show, ask a panelist a question or whatever, you can do it through Streamlabs or Super Chat. Streamlabs is the preferred, and you can find the link at the top of the chat in the description. All support is appreciated. The best way that you can support the show is by bringing us some new information, coming into the Discord, joining the conversation, basically just being involved in the show. A lot of people come into the Discord. You can find the link to that in the description as well. Come on in. We don't bite. Well, it can get pretty rough, but we can't physically bite you. So feel free to come in anytime. We'd love to have new people in the chat. You can even just come in there and sit and listen if you want. But, okay, so tonight we've got Brian Leaky who's coming in, in about 45 minutes at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to give us a presentation of some kind. I have no idea on what. Could be anything, knowing Brian. So we'll see. It should be interesting either way. I see we've got a Discord full of people. So why don't we just head over there and say hello. And we've got some other things to cover too. Let me just tell you what that is. My new favorite subject, because I don't believe there's a good answer from the globe for it. And there sure the hell is a great answer here in reality, is how does the atmosphere rotate along with the Earth? Usually I get a one-word answer back, so we're going to talk about that some. There's some moon satellite footage somebody found from decades ago that's pretty hilarious. And there's some people in the media doing hit jobs, and we'll talk about one of them, which is Flat Earthers Sail to the Edge of the Earth. And I saw that in about 20 different publications, including some of the worst propaganda rags out there. So we'll talk about that in a minute because it was a really stupid article. But anyway, let's go to the Discord, check in, see what kind of action is taking place.
That's like the pot calling the kettle black. Those guys are just chat trolls in general. Yeah. That's all they do is sit there and troll in text. They can't even do it in VC. At least come troll us in VC.
So in general, they're shit trolls, are they?
What's up, guys? What's going on? We're live.
What up? What up?
Hello, Brendan.
Hello.
What's up, Allie B? How you doing, brother?
Not so bad. How are you yourself?
Not too bad. It's cold
Good
as
New
hell,
Year.
but not too bad.
No, we had snow today.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's okay. I stopped wishing for time to go fast because I don't know about you, but I felt like 2020 just went by like in the blink of an eye. So,
I did.
You know why that is, Brandon?
Space-time was bending. Space-time was bending harder.
It's because the Earth was spinning a little bit faster.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I got the answer. I'll have to tell my wife about that. She's been wondering why it seemed to go so fast too.
Yeah.
Did you DM me that article actually where they took a second off?
Yeah, I brought it up yesterday.
Well, when they did the Three Gorges Dam, it was supposed to take more than 4 seconds off the rotation.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
The dam in China. Yeah, I remember that.
I got to hear more about that. But here, let me get through the what are they called? Introductions. F. Evangelist, what's going on? It's not cold where he is. There he is.
No, man, it's the middle of summer. How are we, everyone? I'm out in the country, so the reception might be a bit sketchy, but I'll annoy people when I can.
Cool, man. And Gadget Inspector, what's going on, Gadget?
How's it going, Brandon? You well?
Yeah, good, man. I see you giving him hell in chat. That was pretty hilarious.
Yeah, I was just going back and forth. I had nothing else to do today, you know. I just went trolling and Neathead and WS, whatever you call them. I actually told them, like, Brandon's starting in 5 minutes, you know. Come in here and have the debate, you know. They're all full of shite, man. You can't. They're all just trolls.
Yeah, we've got some interesting trolls assigned to us right now. They like to... They keep the chat pretty full of nonsense and the same old shit.
Sorry, they've been assigned to us?
Yeah, they've definitely been assigned, yeah.
Sorry, Brandon. Jeremy was saying I must move up now to gems, is it? To get the real trolls, is it?
Yeah, that is the home of the real trolls for sure. Those guys, those guys are real professionals. They hone their skills. Jeremy gives them hell down there. It's pretty interesting to listen to.
I must move up there, so.
Yeah, you should go down there sometime, Gadget, if you want to get some attention of some trolls. Let's see who else we got. Travis, his ether bandiness.
Hello. What ho?
How you doing today, sir?
Good. I'm good.
Good. On the road. Cool. Jeremy.
What up?
What's up? Jimbo.
I'm doing okay today. Hope everyone's well. I got 600 feet of, paper for printing that has sticky, and I'll be using a lot of it to print flat Earth stickers for in the buses.
Letters and
They don't
stickers
really have
for
factors.
buses. What do you mean?
Yeah, the city buses. I'm gonna plaster a bunch of them with "Earth is flat," elephant in the room type of thing. Research flat Earth. Nuisance
Excellent.
value. Good
Excellent.
value. 600 feet, dirt cheap. It's a good way
That's
for
worth it.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah, that's a good idea.
In a lot of places, they don't tear them down. People are very respectful. It's just downtown where, you know, a lot of like city inspectors and people work for the city and all these kind of, you know, whatever. Downtown here in Ottawa, they don't last. You know, I'm not putting them on restaurants, stores, anything like that. Just public garbage cans and other stuff. But the other stickers don't normally get pulled off, but certainly flat Earth stuff does. I wonder why. Anyway.
I'd like to see someone, you know, do like a crop circle, but just do flat Earth in it.
Well, we can forward that to the aliens who have been in the news quite a bit lately. See if they can hook that up. Ranty might have a in with them. He's into that a lot. So
I have a direct line to Bibu and ET.
there you go.
Private number.
I should have known that Jimbo was in contact with them. So yeah, hook that up, man.
So does Jesse Kozlowski. So
That's who first came to my mind too. What was the one he's talking to? Was Bilu, right? Bilu was telling him about the slant of the Earth or something.
Bilu, Bilu.
That's hilarious. Let's see who else we got. Left Lane Howard just joined. What's up, Howard?
How we doing, fellas?
Good, man. And Nidhug. What's up, Nidhug?
Nidhug don't want it.
What's that here?
Hello. How are you doing?
My
tonight?
bad. It's intros. Go ahead.
Oh, no, hi.
Okay, no problem. Bob Dole. What's up, man?
Hello.
All right, that is everyone in the Discord. Nice group tonight.
what about SE Montreal?
Oh yeah. Oops. SC Montreal. I guess I'll have to
Holy
introduce
cow,
them.
man.
Forget the French tabernacle.
Whoops, sorry about that. What's up, man?
Good evening, Brandon. Good evening, everybody.
Good
evening, SE. Don't worry, I'll look after you, mate.
Hey, Ali, you got my back, bro. Thanks.
Yeah.
SE, I was offended on your behalf, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank
Oh
you.
shit. We have a Brian Leaky coming in tonight to give some kind of presentation. I don't know what Brian's interest is tonight, but we'll find out later at about 6 o'clock. 40 minutes. So that should be cool.
I'm a big fan of Brian's. He's down to do all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, and he just does it. He just, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do the fishing line. A test goes out the next day, buys the fishing line. Oh, I'm going to fuck with magnets. Next thing you know, he's live on the cam messing around with magnets.
And maybe Brandon.
Brian's he's what I call a mad dog. Right? But you just let Brian loose and he'll get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Tomorrow we've got an interesting debate between Babs Space Pope and Paige, of all people.
There we go.
Yeah, so that's I'm not sure what they're debating. I think they're just having a general debate, but they were going back and forth in chat last night.
I really like Paige. She's really gutsy and stuff. I don't mind at all hearing her go at it with people. I really don't.
Yeah, she can hold her own, so that should be pretty interesting.
Brandon, are you going to talk about the V2 rockets tonight or what?
You want to talk about the V2 rockets, Gadget?
No, that was your topic last night.
Oh yeah, no, I figured it would come up, but yeah, why don't we talk about the V2 rockets, because I started talking about it last night and we got kind of sidetracked. But really, the only other thing I had to bring up was about von Braun's criminal record and just a couple of articles. But what do you know about the V2 rockets, Gadget?
Well, I love World War II. I always looked into World War II, and the V2 rockets, they were launched straight up, aren't they, with gyroscopes with a timer? Am I right, or am I wrong?
That I don't know, but let me bring up the
Well,
article.
they were supposed to have a certain amount of fuel to fly to a certain location over England, then run out and fall down, basically. They tried to calculate
the
fuel
gyroscope.
distance,
They
etc.
work with gyroscopes and timers, didn't they? Well, yeah. As Jimbo
I have
said,
something.
the fuel. So that's a timer, right?
I have something to add on the rockets. I saw a video before that, and I can't find it now, so don't hold me to this. But I saw a video before about how Hitler's logistics were an absolute mess, and in order to get more funding, they used to fake rocket technology, so they would get more funding for it. You know what I mean? You show Hitler a fake video of a rocket taking off, and go, look, we're making good progress, and next thing you know, you got all the funding you want.
Now, how was he faking a video back in that time?
How could you fake a video?
Yeah,
I don't know how they fake videos.
Germans were good at making propaganda reels then too. And
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe use a little model or something. I don't know how they did it.
So how did the
they
Germans?
did a lot of propaganda with cinema,
Hang on.
film, media.
Let's just think about this. You're at war with the world. What do you got to try and get funding for? That doesn't make any sense to me. You just do what you got to do. You shouldn't have to go and appeal. I mean, where's the money coming from? What do you have to appeal to get funding when you're fighting the world?
Well, the thing with that I understand with Hitler was you had to, directly impress him. So maybe they just spiced things up, but I mean, it was pretty advanced what they were doing, even with these V2, the V1 and the V2 rockets. These were the first long-range rockets.
Well,
that were developed.
Braun, wasn't the V2 von Braun's baby?
Yeah.
Or was it?
It was one of.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's what led to NASA, wasn't it?
You look today when some politician goes to a shop or a factory, you don't have time to see everything. They get a glaze over and they're gone. Hitler couldn't have got more from all of these scientists and their rockets and other shit than a walkthrough and a pat on the bum and goodbye, Hitty. I mean, really, he couldn't be everywhere and plan the war and be like super fucking man. Come on.
Well, he tried to, from what I understand. I mean, he was making decisions right down until
he was a
end.
puppet. He had,
Hitler
he
was
a bunch of people in a war room. He was
Sorry,
just
guys, Brandon, have you seen that documentary, The Greatest Story Never Told?
I have seen that. Yes, that was interesting.
Yes.
But all these leaders were Freemasons. Churchill, Hitler, and freaking across in America, the president. They were all Freemasons. So, what kind of war is that, really? It's the dark government
Can I just
playing
answer
war
the phone?
with real
Can I just
governments.
answer
What's
the
up,
phone
Travis?
with,
I was just going to suggest, since Ali B mentioned The Greatest Story Never Told, if you haven't seen the other documentary called Hellstorm, that's a really good one as well.
That's a book. That was that guy. What's his name that wrote it? That
Yeah,
English
but
dude.
they turned it into like a 45-minute documentary where they read certain excerpts and they provided
right.
a lot of visuals. It was really interesting.
Those
about
aren't
Dresden?
that easy to come across anymore. They used to be on YouTube everywhere. I think you have to go to BitChute unless there's a copy out there on YouTube that they haven't found. But I downloaded the whole thing.
I've downloaded it, Brandon. I've got a page on archive.org, and I actually downloaded it and uploaded it onto archive.org, so it sits there if you want it, if you need a copy.
Yeah, actually, I downloaded a copy too, just because it was information presented in a way that I had never heard before. I mean, we grew up, we've had like 70, 80 years now of post-World War II propaganda from the victor side. And the thing that I always struggle with is, what really happened? Because in all wars after the war, you have to justify your actions. So I would love a an objective source for what really happened and the politics around all of it. I'm by no means a national socialist or anything like that. Just to make that clear. But we didn't get the full story, because then you come across stuff like the POW camps and starving the German soldiers and letting them sleep outside on the ground by the millions, and the bombing of civilians. So it was a nasty war on both sides.
That bombing, when they bombed, I think it was, it was Dresden. When they bombed Dresden.
It was firebombing, Ali.
Yeah, well, that's what
Dresden,
Hellstorm.
yeah.
I think that book Hellstorm was written about it. But the thing was that it was bombed like late on in the war, and what was happening there is there was Jews, Gentiles, blacks, whites, everybody running from the Russians as the Russians were coming in. Everybody was fleeing. And Churchill, I think it was Churchill, he knew.
That should have been a war crime, Ali.
That place, wait a minute, that place was full of near enough refugees. And what they did, what they did was they went across and they bombed it, and then they waited until all the fire brigades came out, and they went off again and bombed it again. And they done that. I think it was like 2 days solid, man. I've got video of it. I made a video about it about 3 years ago when I stumbled across it. That was horrifying, man. You should, if you look into that bombing, man, that was
I compared that to Hiroshima.
Yeah, that was right, yeah, exactly. But that was the one thing that opened my eyes. If we want to label Hitler as a madman, and I'm not going to do that, but the atrocities that Churchill and the Allied forces did against the Germans after the war is absolutely just as monstrous.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the problem I have too, is I even think some of these trials afterwards were ginned up for the public's consumption to give a certain impression of what happened during the war, and to make the Allies look like they were squeaky clean. But it was total war. I mean, it's not like Germany was innocent in the entire thing anyway.
No, they were absolute butchers. Let's be sure of that.
Yeah,
they were absolute butchers. They butchered millions upon millions of people in Europe and all over the place.
I think the Allies killed more than that. The thing was that what the Russians done as well. They sent in the they had their lead front was the NKVD. That was like they were basically animals, man, and they were the lead force, and they just raped and pillaged all their way right into Germany, kind of thing.
Yeah, those are the forces, absolutely correct, Ali, that defeated Germany.
Oh,
they were terrifying. They were like barbarians.
And they come from, I think they come a lot from, I think it was Siberia, not from the in Mongolia and places like that. They were a special type of people. It wasn't like they came from Moscow and stuff like that. They were specific. I think they were, like the hillbillies or something like that, man.
I think you're right, Ali. Yeah.
The most feared Canadian regiment by the Germans was the 22nd, the Night Watch. They were mostly like Scottish, basically Freemasons, I guess. But the 22nd Regiment or 22nd they basically took no prisoners. They were night operations often, and
I think they formed the Spetsnaz from them, if I'm not mistaken, Ali.
Yeah.
If the Germans heard the 22nd was there, they vacated.
If they would hear, the guys that Ali is talking about, if soldiers would hear that these particular people would come, they would evacuate whole villages, because just from the reputation, these guys weren't messing around.
Well, let me give you one example of that barbarity from the Russian side, and an example of post-war propaganda was I think it was Katyn Forest. Have you guys ever heard of this? Katyn Forest massacre?
Yeah, they blamed the Germans.
They blamed the Germans, and it actually turned out to be the Soviet Union. And they executed 22,000 military officers and other people, and that was blamed on Germany.
Sorry about that.
So history's written by the victors. So who do you believe, and how do you decide whether you believe them or not? I will tell you one person whose stuff I do like to listen to is Mark Felton Productions. I'm no historian, so when I listen to this stuff, it's more like for entertainment, and I think, oh, that's cool. Find something that might interest me to delve into deeper, but you have to take this stuff with a grain of salt.
Yeah, have you heard the guy, the best guy to look about about Hitler and stuff like that is a guy called David Irvin, and he got access to like all the KGB files, British files, and he basically took all the documents, and he was the guy that wrote that the book that film is based on that Travis talks about, Hellstorm.
Oh, okay.
That was his first book, actually. He wrote it in 1968 or something like that. He wrote it in the 60s. The guy's studied it for 30 years, and he's got, it's like what you said, Brandon, like, geez, man, you're hearing another side of the story. But,
I guess that comes back to the first conspiracy. Is Hitler dead? Did he die during that war? Or did he go to Argentina or whatever you say?
Well, that you got to wonder about too. It seems plausible that he would take his own life, especially as, the Soviets were knocking on the door, and he certainly wouldn't want to be taken alive by them. But at the same time, there really was no confirmation of the body. And then the bones that they had, if I remember correctly, turned out to be female bones, and they burned them and spread them and threw them in a river. The Soviets did years later. So who the hell knows? They had plans set up to help Hitler escape. So why wouldn't they include in part of that plan making it seem like he was dead?
Just after the World War, the Russians said that they had Hitler's body. They had proof of his dental records and shit like that, And then in the 1970s, during the height of the Cold War, they said that they didn't have his body. He probably went to Argentina. It was all propaganda shit.
If they had an escape plan for him, there's a good chance they had a way to. If you want someone to get away clean from something like that, people are going to want to see a body. Oh, he's dead. Where's the body?
Yeah, most of these guys have doubles. I'm sure Hitler had body doubles, people that look like him that he sent out there. So who's to say they didn't just pop one of these body doubles in the back of his head and,
Well, Hitler's bodyguard, or all the people that surrounded Hitler, his bodyguard, he reckoned that, he went into the room, Hitler went into the room to Eva Braun shot, and he told me to take the bodies out and burn me. And that's from, you get the interview, I think that's still on YouTube, the interview with the bodyguard. But he said Hitler wouldn't leave. Hitler knew he had it. This is just what he said. He said Hitler knew, that he was messed up and he had a chance to leave, but he stayed. He chose to stay. There you go. That's what his bodyguard said anyway. That he stayed. If he was going to die, he was going to die in Germany.
Sure.
1943.
Well, go ahead, Gadget. What?
Hitler went into the bunker in February 1944. He knew when the Russians were coming attacking, when he fucked up in Stalingrad and everything. Okay. And he should have actually taken Russia. He should have actually taken Moscow before he did Stalingrad. But he was kind of greedy. He wanted to get the oil fields down in Stalingrad. But anyway, he was beaten, and he actually left his eagle's nest in Austria, and he came back to Berlin in February. He knew the war was over. He knew. He went underground in February, okay, and he killed himself. What, April? The end of April?
Yeah, something like that. That's the story. Hey, Brian, I want to ask you a question because you seem a bit clued up. Wasn't that such a stupid move to actually march on Stalingrad at the beginning of winter? What do you think he was thinking of there?
I don't know, but we'd all be Nazis right now if Hitler didn't attack Russia.
It's not just the Russia part. This is a key element, Stalingrad. The reason why, Ali, is because of the name. They say that he wanted to defend the city, a stupid strategic move because Moscow was the obvious move, right? But because of the name, that's the story. He gave orders, defend Stalingrad at all cost, and apparently that's what cost the war right there.
What a frickin'
Yeah.
brutal front too. That the Russian front with Germany versus Russia in the bitter cold and
Oh, Jesus, man.
locking that city down. Which city? It was Stalingrad, wasn't it? That was locked down, and there was people eating other people's kids and consuming human meat and all kinds of crazy crap going on in there.
Insane. Because he gave orders to burn and retreat. While they were fighting in Stalingrad, they gave orders to burn and retreat. So as the advancing German soldiers came, they found nothing. It was all burnt and it was freezing. And, well, the rest is history.
Yeah, nasty
Yeah,
stuff.
they couldn't keep up with the supplies. The supplies couldn't keep up with the front because
Exactly.
of the weather.
He went too
They
south.
had summer clothing.
Yeah,
They had
went
summer
too
clothing.
fast. Yeah, they marched too fast, I think, yeah.
You think they would have been better prepared? I mean, Germany is not a Caribbean country, right? It's pretty freaking cold there in the winter, isn't it?
Yeah, they really screwed up. Well, you see, part of the reason why they were held back is because they had to send, I think it was 600,000 troops to Greece to help Italy because they were having problems in Albania. So that kind of set them back a few months. But still, they had enough time. If they would have went for Moscow, this wouldn't have happened. But because they got bogged down in Stalingrad, that's where winter came in. First of all, they got sloshed down because of the mud, the rains. They weren't prepared for that. And they were advancing near the end like inches per day.
The Russian front was actually 2,000 miles long, and the reason Leningrad was it was a more defensible city. If you look at the war layout for the Battle of Leningrad and stuff, you can understand why these choices were made. It's not because Moscow was most important. Besides, Russia started off as two cities.
Yeah, but in winter though,
No, they had to go to Moscow to kill the head, bro.
Yeah, but wait a minute. But it was the winter. It was the choice of it was that choice that he made, attacking. Then he didn't have to attack. And it was kind of stupid. I was just wondering about that. Not that it was easy to defend Leningrad or.
Right, because we have to look back to 1933, right? Okay, when Hitler came to power. Okay, Germany was a third world country because they lost the First World War. Okay, the people were starving. Okay, Hitler came to power. Where did the money come from? Right, from 33, Hitler came to power.
No, from the church. It was a Catholic church.
The unemployment in 6 years went from 100% to zero. Okay, and he had an army to conquer Europe. Where did the money come from?
From the church, the Catholic Church. That's who funded him.
Really?
They had 9 million soldiers, gentlemen. They started off the war with 9 million soldiers.
Holy crap.
Yeah, but what he did...
Big Daddy Bush was on trial
to work. I bet he put everybody to work, and there's motorways and driving motorways that were built that long ago.
Yeah, but S.E. Moriarty.
All through Germany,
where
man.
did the money come from? The Deutschmark was in... A million Deutschmarks was in worth a penny. Where did the money come from?
Bush
No,
was on the grandfather.
America. Everybody knows the banksters.
No, hold on.
The grandfather of Bush was was actually on trial for being accused of funding both sides.
Yeah, they funded both sides. Yeah, that's a fact.
We all agree it was a funded war. Was it? Was it funded?
Yeah.
It had
Yeah,
to
of
be
course.
funded.
Yeah.
Every war, there's a bank behind it. Every war. That's the way it works.
Or a religious organization.
Yeah.
Okay.
When we talk about the wars that we're fighting right now, and we say that a lot of the countries that we can focus on are not a part of the international banking system, that is part of the narrative as well with Germany, because of what Hitler was able to do in helping Germany recover by implementing incentives for his people to work. He also broke ties with the International Bank and began to produce and print his own money.
No, I
So-
don't agree with you. I don't agree with you. I think he was with the international banks. They funded that.
Okay, well,
You know,
the
if
reason
history is to be
why,
believed-
yeah,
And
Go ahead,
I'll
Travis.
tell you the reason why. I'll tell you the reason why. Because
We'll let Travis say first.
the 1st of September 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Okay? You okay with that?
right. But why? The question is why.
And the day after, France and England declared war.
Okay, hold on, just real quick, Gadget. What would you say was the reason why? Why did Hitler invade Poland?
I don't know. He wanted to enlarge Germany.
No. Okay. No. Right. Okay. So this is where the alternative narrative is helpful. Okay. When the treaty was it? You guys have to remember. Was it the Treaty of Versailles after World War I? That was the
the one that suffocated Germany. Yeah, that one.
Right. So what they did was they also then split up the provinces in the states. Okay. So right. Okay. So hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, so what Hitler did in Poland was he simply went into German territory that had been annexed into Poland. So what we aren't told is that the Poles were slaughtering the Germans in that province. So you can either believe that some idiot fascist dictator wanted to start taking over the world, or he simply plotted out a 3-day campaign and went in and protected his people and then came back, and that was it.
Well, a wee addendum to that as well, Travis.
It wasn't extreme.
Before that, wait a minute, Gadget. Before that happened, right? He didn't actually want to invade. Before that, he'd made an agreement with the Polish leader at the time, right? Listen, right, and because they were annexed after the First World War, there was still Germans living there, and all Hitler wanted to do was build a railway so that it could connect to that province, that Poland, that was part of Poland now, so so they could travel freely, and that was the deal, and it was agreed. And then the Polish and the French, they were kind of on Germany's side. And they reneged. They signed an agreement. I thought that was the Treaty of Versailles.
No. The French never signed an agreement.
Yes, they did, Brian. They signed an agreement with Germany. They were on Germany's side before the war started, and then they reneged on it. And when Britain, after that incident in Poland, right? And Poland, the Polish minister, listen, the Polish Prime Minister gave permission for Germany. He agreed that Hitler could do that, and then he went back on his word, right? And then France joined in, but all he wanted to do was build a connection with his German people. Well, I'm sorry, mate.
The First World War was when we went into Poland, when they went into Poland. But
no, it wasn't. It was that guy Franz Ferdinand, that got what do you call it? Assassinated in where was it?
Serbia, I think it was.
Yeah, it was. Twice. That was. Hey, listen, this is funny. That the First World started when a guy got assassinated in what's the name of that? It's the same two places.
Sarajevo.
And the Second World.
Yugoslavia. Sarajevo.
What was it called?
I forgot the name. I know it was in Serbia, but I can't remember the name.
Sarajevo.
Was it Sarajevo? Right.
I think Sarajevo, but I'm not sure.
The First World War started with someone getting assassinated in, is it Sarajevo? Well, maybe it is, we'll say that.
It's not, I think Sarajevo is somewhere else. It's in Croatia, I think, that or something.
Yeah, I know that I'm trying to think, but it doesn't matter. It was two assassinations in the same place, though. Listen, it was two assassinations in the same place that started those two wars, which is quite strange. But anyway.
All right. Well, let's bring it back to the V2 rocket.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in World War II history, though. I think it's fascinating. I had two grandfathers who fought on the side of the Allies, obviously, as most people in the United States and elsewhere do. So a couple generations back, I would love to just know exactly what the hell the true story of everything that went down was. without all the propaganda mixed in. But sadly, it's difficult to find good sources that you can believe in, as is the case with most of history for some of the same reasons, in my opinion. But this V2 rocket, so von Braun was the technical director for the V2 rockets, and it was the first, what is it called? Oh, I just had it in here. The missile power, oh, here it is. The world's first long-range guided ballistic missile. This was a gigantic advancement, and von Braun was probably the most valuable person in the world at that point once he got these things working with this technology. And it's no surprise that he came over to the United States and they put him to work. As far as how the V2 rocket functions or anything like that, I don't know too much details. But this is a pretty interesting story. There is a video by Mark Felton Production that goes over the V2 that's really fascinating. So the thing I find interesting is this guy creates the first long-range ballistic missile. He comes to the United States, works for the U.S. Army, and then for some reason, they take him off the weapons programs and put him in charge of, or as a part of NASA. I don't think he wasn't in charge of NASA, right? He was just technical director for the Apollo missions or something like that. That's the part that fascinates me, is these ties back to Nazism. And I think this is a big thing that gets overlooked. But other than that, we talked about it mostly yesterday. So that's pretty much all I had, unless anybody has anything else to add to the V2 rockets.
And yeah, I do, Brandon. Van Braun, he said, to get to the moon, we need a rocket 3 times the size of the Empire State Building to get to the moon. That's what he said. That's his words.
Yeah, I have heard that. He wrote it in some book before the moon missions, right? Was it a science fiction book or some other book where he said you would just need this humongous thing and it was impossible?
Yeah, but wasn't he behind the Apollo missions as well? Apparently, or did he just put his name in there or saying he was in there? Was he behind it actually?
Yeah, I don't know the full extent, but I thought he was the technical director for the missions. Let's see what it says on his wiki page as far as the Apollo missions go. I don't know. He was instrumental in the whole thing. He used to do Disney documentaries, and he seemed to be the face for the program at the very least. But it would be interesting to get some more details behind exactly what his, function was there.
And then Brandon, he's dead now, right? And so when you look at his tombstone, he says something about a dome or something like that. You can't get into outer space or something like that. Look up, post that in the chat there, Van Braun's tombstone.
Oh yeah, we talked about that yesterday. Yeah, it says something about the firmament in there. Somebody can probably quote it, but it does say here that he was the head of the Apollo applications program. So who knows? I don't know what to think about all this stuff, but definitely a very strategic person and very key to the entire history. There's a story that one of his assistants tell, and I'm sure you guys have heard it, about what von Braun told her the overall plan was. That, eventually they're going to come up with some kind of fake alien invasion. Have you guys heard that before?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's right there.
Yeah. So I'm not prepared to go into detail, but my understanding is she came out and said that he told her that that was part of their overall plan, to fake an alien invasion. Oh, who knows?
That story's been out for a while.
The sky, or
yeah, that's been out a few years. That one. But SE actually touched on. SE actually touched. I think it was last night or something. You were talking about Jack Parsons. SE.
Thanks to you, bro.
No worries, man. I just found it. Yeah, it was just zooming about the internet, but I'm just saying it was quite interesting because they actually, the guy, he's sort of credited with actually the reason why the Apollo mission went so well, because he actually, it was to do with the rockets. He started the JPL, the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, NASA, and as SE Montreal was saying, they were into kind of weird sex and thing, but it was quite interesting how he mixed. Apparently, he mixed the two. He was quite a genius actually with chemist, and he was self-taught. He was actually that Jack Parsons. He was he's actually self-taught. It's quite an interesting story because I got a totally, what we're talking about, different stories. I heard a totally different story that kind of vilified the guy, and then reading a bit more about the history of the JPL and all that kind of stuff and all the people that were hanging around there, and it was quite interesting to actually find out that he was kind of credited, but he got sort of pushed aside because of his beliefs, kind of thing.
He lost his clearance in the end, did he not, Ali?
Yeah, he was blowing up things in the Mojave Desert and tripping out there. Yeah, in the Mojave Desert. Just he was. You're right. They were on hallucinogens. Him and there was a couple of scientists, and they were all into that kind of. They were doing scientific experiments on mushrooms, on meditating and stuff like that. They were doing lots of stuff to do with.
They were doing PCP, mushrooms.
All that esoteric.
I couldn't believe it.
Yep, all the esoteric stuff that came from China that the West sort of poo-pooed. They were actually doing scientific experiments, taking the mushrooms, but in a scientific and writing and making predictions and all this kind of stuff. They were like, it wasn't just let's get out our heads and see things. They were actually conducting experiments with meditation.
Is it? Didn't last year? Didn't those two movies come out? The one about Neil Armstrong, and then the one about Jack Parsons. I think there was a Jack Parsons movie last year too.
Was there?
Yeah.
Was it any good?
Right. I've seen it. Yeah, you could be right. Sorry, Brian.
I haven't seen either of them, but I was impressed with the fact that they were both coming out in the same year. I was like, that's interesting.
No, that is.
So I was just looking this up, and the person who worked for von Braun was Dr. Carol Rosen. Now, is her story true? I don't know. But she has this account. I've got it on screen now. I won't play it because I'm afraid of getting a strike, but it is on Facebook. So if anybody hasn't heard of this, which most people have, I'll put the link in chat. It's pretty dang interesting what she says. I don't know if she's a reliable witness. I don't know anything about her, but it is an interesting story, and it lines up with a lot of the things that we see going on. But evidently he said that, okay, here, I'll just read this part. After the Russian threat passed, terrorists would be identified as the next threat, and that will soon follow. Throughout the media for the next decade, we heard a lot about terrorism. So that did kind of come true. But he said that would be the third enemy against whom we would build space-based weapons. Third world crazy, that's what he called them, I guess, third world crazies. The next enemy was asteroids. Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids. Against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. And the funniest one of all was what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final scare. And over during the 4 years that she worked for him and was giving speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We are going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens, and all of it is a lie.
Did he know about Antarctica?
Who knows what he knew? I mean, he probably knew a lot. He was high up in the Nazi regime. I don't know how much he was trusted by, that inner circle. But then he comes over here and works for NASA and the Army. Yeah, this guy probably knew what was going on.
He developed the V1 and the V2 way up in the north of Germany in Villigen, Willigan. And then the Willigan started to get bombed by the Allies. So they had all the rockets. They were all top class. Like they could touch, when you're up in Willigan, they could touch England. Okay, they work by gyroscopes, by the way, and fuel and timers. Okay, so they could fall in London. They were well aimed, and of course you can't fucking aim over globe Earth. It has to be flat. But then when the Allies started bombing Willigan, they had to move, so they put all them rockets onto launchers, and they started hiding them in tunnels. They brought them to France and all over Europe to shoot England, or even in Russia, you know, these flying bombs. So, but they were not guided. They were on gyroscopes. They could fly, and it was a timer, like, kind of thing. But I don't know.
Yeah.
A wee thing about
What I
Antarctica.
know,
Did he know?
Sorry, guys.
Did he know about,
Before I forget about
what's
Antarctica,
gonna
do you know that
happen?
Hitler
Did he know what's
actually?
gonna happen in the future? Did he know he was going to get caught by the Americans? He wouldn't go to the Russians, would he, Von Braun? He got caught. And do you know what happened to him afterwards? He got knighted from America. He was the top brass in the fucking White House.
Right. Yeah. He purposely, him and the people he worked with purposely, you know, kind of escaped in a sense to go and be captured by the Americans instead of the Russians.
It's hypocrite. All the Americans that died on the beach of Normandy here in France, and then we get a top scientist that killed thousands, probably more, because the slave labor that goes into them rockets as well. Loads of people died, and then we knight him here in America, and we said he's a top class man in Apollo. What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a thing in his Wikipedia about the slave labor too. And we talked about that a little yesterday. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff. So check out that Carl Rosen. And if you're not familiar about the story of Von Braun, you should look into that too, because it is interesting stuff.
Can I just connect a few dots that maybe don't connect, but maybe they do?
Yeah.
So I know it was Reagan, and I reckon Bush, one of the Bushes as well, I don't know if it was senior or junior, both said nothing would unite the world more than if we were to, you know, be invaded from an alien source. They both said that on television. I know Reagan did. I'm pretty sure Bush did.
Yeah.
Pretty sure Bush did as well. Nothing would unite
Bush and Reagan said that.
this world more than if we had a common enemy. So then you've got old Werner von Braun saying that in the playbook is we're going to have an alien invasion one day. And now you've got Donnie Trump saying we need a space force. So I don't know. I mean, it's over 3 or 4 decades, but I reckon there's some dots. Maybe you can.
Well, here's another one. Here's another one then that would tie into that, because Werner von Braun, he was a German, right? If you look at the history of the Antarctic Treaty, Germany actually, Hitler had a claim on part of that. You know how it was split up. Hitler actually had a claim there, and then you get all these stories about they went down there and there was underground caves and there was these aliens and flying saucers and stuff like that.
New Schwabiland. Very good,
Yeah,
Elliot.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
But he actually,
I've read all that, Elliot.
Germany actually, Hitler did have a base, or Germany, or Hitler did have a
Had a
base.
base,
in
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, and he maybe apparently he did go down there, but it's a fact they did have a base. But the other stuff I don't know about, but it's documented that they actually had.
Think about it, Ali. You're onto something big here, because if the Germans had a base there, right? That explains why the Americans would send a battle, like an aircraft carrier battle group consisting of submarines, 5,000 men. Why would you do that? Why?
But listen, even better, SC, right? Now there was I wish I could find this documentary, but that guy apparently, Admiral Byrd, he ended up in a mental hospital, right? But the point was, he came back and he gave an interview about they got attacked, right? And they were getting attacked by alien flying saucers, and that was that thing you talked about. It was like 20,000 soldiers or 2,000 soldiers or something. They sent a big group down there, and he actually reported that they actually got attacked by
but
aliens or something.
why is there any other individuals that talked about that? Why is it just him?
Yeah,
Did everybody-
that's the strange part. That's a very good point. They were talking about that. I think it was on Globebusters this week, and they were talking about the stories of Admiral Byrd and are they really trustworthy, and what do we really know about this guy, and is it some kind of propaganda that was put out back then? I think those are legitimate questions to ask. I mean, why should we trust what this guy's saying? Maybe it was some other bullshit.
It might sound funny, but that might be the place the Nephilim are, you know, imprisoned under Sheol. And the Tartaria is another, like, underworld works for others. Maybe what's down under the Antarctic, and they know, is the Nephilim.
Maybe, but did you know that the Nazis' cosmology was also included a belief in the hollow earth theory? Pretty
Did you
strange.
know that there is a story that Admiral Byrd went underground and he met underground, under earth people?
Yeah, but why is it just Admiral Byrd? He said
He was also a Freemason, an artist, and a writer. So I know a lot of my fiction and so-called...
Whoa, hold on, guys. You've got multiple people talking.
2,000 sailors sailed with Admiral Byrd. Why do we have other testimonies to say what Admiral Byrd said? Is it bullshit or what?
How do we know how we can trust Admiral Byrd, though? How do we know we can trust anything that he said?
Well, here's the thing. He was a Freemason, a novelist, and an artist. He could make up stories like John Carter or anything else.
Yeah, but I've
These guys created our world, our fantasy, our reality.
Well, I've got an argument against that, right? I've got an argument against that, and the proof is in. I can give good proof about it. In those days, I don't think that it was as strict control on what was coming out regarding wars and stuff like that, because in the end up nobody could really do anything about whether there was these new lands or whatever he went on the television. And if you look at the reporters and the way that the narrative's controlled, it's a lot stricter now than it was. Because I can remember even in the 70s, if someone went onto a political talk show like a minister, he got ripped to pieces by the interviewer, man. It was like there was no holds barred, right? All these, they literally got interrogated, right, by these, you know, hosts, TV presenters, or these guest show presenters. But if you look at it now, the information's a lot tighter. These people don't ask these probing questions anymore. The sort of media's went more controlled, and I think it was a lot more. It was a lot more lax in them days.
Well,
So
I believe that, because right now it's just
rationalize.
propaganda. I mean, the media outlets might as well be a propaganda arm of the United States government, and for all intents and purposes, that's how they operate.
And UK as well, Brandon. The UK, every thing, you know, I think it's all over. It's all over the. Yeah, well,
Yeah, I think you're right, because I talked to
propaganda,
people from India even, and they say, yeah, it's the same there too. And I've never heard anybody say, in our country we have a truly free press and they tell us the truth. It seems to be propaganda everywhere.
but it's got worse. It's got a lot more tighter. So I'm doing what these scientists do, but they go back to things that, you know, they go back a million billion years. But I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at the media now. I've got experience of what it was like in the 80s, the 70s. I don't remember the 60s, but I remember the newspapers and these political programs where these guys were getting, I mean, literally, you wouldn't see this now. You wouldn't see it on the television, these politicians, you know, getting ripped, and I mean, literally ripped to pieces. And that's only like 30 years ago, 40 years ago. So think of it, take it back another 40 years. You know, I tend to take what Admiral Byrd, maybe not about the stuff underground or whatever, I don't know where that came from, but regarding land. I was talking to a quick story, just to another thing that enforces this belief. I seen a program on Discovery. It was one of these series called Diamond Miners or Gold Miners. But anyway, they'd got a special license from the Greenland government just to go across and do a bit of perspective, just to see what, you know, like a survey kind of thing. And I'm not kidding. They filmed this beach. They were out. They wouldn't say where they were, and I'm not kidding. There was rubies, emeralds, diamonds, literally was diamonds the size of your fists and rubies. There was rocks like that weigh about a ton, and it was just covered in rubies, big lumps of rubies like the size of fucking guitars and computers and all this kind of stuff. It was, I couldn't believe it. I even said to my friend, because it was part of Denmark at the time, I even said to my friend, come on, we'll fly off to Greenland, see if we can find this. And this is only about 4 years ago. So there's a place like that I didn't know about. Most of you guys, I could probably say every single one of you didn't know about that. If you'd seen this, it was like a whole beach. The place was glimmering with huge, big, precious.
Where are you in Greenland?
Greenland. And this was on a discovery program. I think they were either gold miners or whatever, or diamond miners, and they got a special.
Hold on a sec. You know, they got caught faking freaking what do you call them, mermaids on Discovery. So you know, football-sized rubies and emeralds. Look, they're appealing to hardcore fantasy.
No, right. But listen then, right?
No, that's the real deal.
They went to Greenland, right? But I'll tell you another thing, right? You know, you can't just completely dismiss it offhand, because I know people from Greenland. Denmark's full of them. But anyway, the point is, so after that, they were there for about a week, and they came in on this day. They were out doing just a little bit of prospecting, and they brought out this 10-litre bucket, and they just poured it on the table, man.
I saw that.
And if you want to see that's fake, that's fine. But I know it's quite funny, because I heard an interesting thing. This American politician or whatever, they were talking about things, and they actually mentioned Greenland, and they said, and this is from about 6 years ago or 5 years ago or something. He said, well, Greenland will come back to us, is coming back to us anyway, right? But Denmark at the time, they actually, what should we say, owned it. The Danish Queen ruled over Greenland, and just I think about 3 years ago, they were given their sovereignty. So I think the Queen has sold it to America. I think she's actually sold that island.
Hey everybody! Just thought I'd stop by because I listened to Ali B saying about it was called ice cold gold, I think, and I remember it because they had this rock that was it was like a giant boulder actually, and it was full of rubies. I saw that too, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, I wouldn't mind getting on a plane too and just going over there and chipping a few of them buggers out.
Exactly, good man, Ranty, spot on.
Off Ireland as well, rock all off Ireland as well, just a little boulder in the sea. Do you remember rock all?
Rock all, no.
Up the north side of Ireland, between the north of Ireland and Scotland. Rock all.
So they just got rubies and shit lying around, huge ass rubies and all this other crap.
Yeah.
What was it called again, Ranty?
I think it was called ice cold gold.
Ice cold gold, right? Okay.
And it was only one season.
You're a truck driver, Ali.
Oh, hold on. Somebody's got some feedback coming through. I think it's Jedi Josh.
Hey, I'm trying to join. I was wondering if you guys can hear me.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you okay, but you've got a real bad echo coming through your microphone.
Okay, give me a second.
Okay.
Let me see if this...
Yeah. I think if you take it off loudspeaker.
Is that any better?
Let's see.
Let me see.
Yep, I think so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that ice cold gold, they only had one season. It's really weird, actually, because I was really looking forward to the second season to see what actually happened.
Me too, Ranty. I've enjoyed that show.
And it was kind of like they revealed what was there in Greenland, and then, or Iceland, wherever it was. And
that was Greenland.
Was it Greenland?
Yeah, because
and then
I thought, Ranty, because what they did, what Denmark done, like, no offence to Greenlanders, man, but they're all piss heads, mate. They done what they done to the North Americans, what they done with the Aboriginals, what they've done with every indigenous group of people that they turned them into alcoholics. It's a shame. And they've got these, no wonder, they've got that wealth. That was, you know, they should have been built. The first thing I thought they should be. What the fuck's going on there, man? You know.
Maybe you should look up ice cold gold rubies or something. Yeah, I mean that was definitely what it was.
I'm so glad because I'd forgotten the name. I tried to hunt it down. I tried everything, Ranty, because I was telling people
Have
about
any of
it.
you guys saw the show Frozen Planet on Netflix?
No, I don't think so. What's that about?
Dude, it's well, they have different series, but the one I watched was on Antarctica, and it's not a flat Earth show. It's got a big globe that pops up right in the beginning, but they don't, you know, push the globe or say anything about the globe. But the description that they give of how Antarctica works, and then they've also got another one of how the Arctic works, fits flat Earth to a freaking T. I mean, it's insane. They talk about the elevation and how there's an impenetrable mountain range the farther you go inland. So there's like so many natural barriers that's what pissed me off when ballers act like you can just pack up your family and go there for a trip.
Yeah,
It's
just
like
stop
the
down
most
there on your
insane
vacation, and
place.
you can check it out. You'll know the Earth's the globe after your vacation to Antarctica. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh, they say
There
a little
was one,
60.
even after years of researching flat Earth, I probably learned more with that, watching that, and answered more questions in my head just from watching that video than I did with 3 or 4 years of research.
I'll have to
The Arctic
check that out.
Circle one was great too, because every year when the sun moves out, so it'd be the winter in the north, the center of Earth, the ice cap melts and it like quadruples in size. And then as the sun slowly rotates back in, all that water melts, and that's what replenishes our oceans and gives us all of our fresh water. But it was just like everything about the show, it's like it shows a big globe on the screen, but it's perfectly describing a flat Earth.
Huh.
And I can't remember the exact name. I'll try to find it tonight, and I'll try to post a link. I know they did have a few small clips of it on YouTube, but it's pretty much something you have to have Netflix to watch.
I think I found it. Is it called Our Planet? Or Frozen Planet? Looks like there's two of them.
I swore it's Frozen Planet, and it's actually a series. I think there was 3 or 4 on Antarctica, and then there was a couple also on the Arctic Circle in the north.
Okay, yeah, I found it. It is called Frozen Planet. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That sounds
But
interesting.
yeah, if you guys get a chance, that's definitely worth a watch. And it helped me to answer a lot of questions that I'd had for years.
Okay.
I'm just happy to be here, man. Sorry I'm talking so much. I've been trying to get this Discord thing to work for like 2 weeks now because I've been dying to jump on the show. And this is pretty much my first time. I got on a few times with Ranty way back in the day, but I had horrible mic issues, so I couldn't really say a whole lot. So I'm sorry I'm kind of babbling on here.
No, that's okay, man. Welcome to the show. Good to have you on. Is your name in YouTube the same as it is here in Discord, or would we know you under a different name over there?
I'm Josh the Flat Earth Jedi.
Yeah, I see your comments all the time, man. Yeah, I know who you are. How's it going?
I try to stick up for the channel as much as I can. It just sucks because I work a lot, and most of the time I can't catch the live streams, but I was really pissed the other day when they were on there I was trying to join so bad when they were trying to say that the sun, trying to show that sun in orthographic view. I think it was Ruhif you were talking to. And I was having a freaking aneurysm in the chat, wanting to get on there so bad because on a flat Earth, I don't know why these people can't understand it. It just has to be pure lying because they're not dumb. They're not that dumb. The sun is never below your eye level on a flat Earth. It appears to be because of the horizon or because of perspective.
All trolls.
But yeah, I was like wanting to jump on the show so bad, and you did end up bringing it up like 5 minutes later, so that calmed me down a little bit.
Well, that's good. Yeah, that got me pissed off too.
Because he was saying some of the most ridiculous shit.
Yeah, that got me going too.
Josh, can I ask you a question?
Oh, your echo's back, Josh.
Hold on. Let me try my headphones. I was actually plugged into my car. Was I sounding good before?
You were just before that.
Okay, give me just 1 second. I just got home.
Can you hear me?
See if that works.
Yeah, Gadget, what's up?
Yeah, Josh. What brought you to be a flat earther?
I'm getting ready to plug my headphones in right now and see if this will solve my audio issue.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Can you mute or something while you do that, Josh? Because the echo's pretty bad. Oh, there we go. We're good now.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to pivot a little bit, and I want to talk about a subject that has come up recently in the Discord, and one that a lot of us have thought about before, but that is this idea of a rotating atmosphere. That the atmosphere is kind of Velcroed, that's the word I use, that's not the word they use, to the Earth, and it moves in lockstep with the Earth, no matter what your latitude is, where you are on the planet, as the Earth rotates. So I've been asking people for evidence of this, and I have gone and looked for evidence that the atmosphere, how this would work, how the atmosphere could possibly move with the Earth underneath it, and I don't think they have a good answer for this. Usually I get back gravity, or I get back, not fluid dynamics, but friction. Literally one word answer, oh, it's because of friction. But if you think about this, you've got a rotating solid. Let's call the Earth, the actual Earth, a solid. In their model, you have a rotating solid surrounded by a cloud of gas, which is the atmosphere. And this solid is rotating, and somehow that cloud of gas that surrounds the solid is moving in perfect unison all the way up to its top layer with the rotating solid underneath it. How in the hell is that possible?
Not to cut you off, Brandon, but it would also have to be moving faster the farther you went up to keep in lockstep, because it's got a much farther distance to travel, say 100 miles up, than it does at ground level. And they can't seem to wrap their heads around that idea.
So if the ball is a curve, gravity curves.
Two things. You'd have drag on all the west side of every mountain and hill. And another thing is, as far as the friction goes, gases are an elastic collision, so I don't think there is any friction.
Well, and think about how would this friction work? So are you telling me that the Earth is carrying the atmosphere along because it's rubbing at it in its bottom layers? So the bottom layer of the atmosphere is rubbing on the Earth, and it's kind of carrying it along, and that is happening in a one-in-one lockstep. This is actually what they say, that the Earth below is carrying the atmosphere, the lower layer that touches it, and that layer is then kind of carrying along the layers on top of it out to the extent of the atmosphere, and that's how it's rotating. That is absolute nonsense.
You could just about quickly and easily dispel this. If you had some kind of a fish tank or a smoke box, whatever you want to call it, and get a ball on an axle, attach it to a power drill or whatever, and get it spinning inside the smoke box, and by their reckoning, all the smoke in that box should start spinning at the same speed as the basketball. If that's what friction will do, good luck. It won't do it.
Yeah,
it wouldn't be that hard to disprove it.
Well, you gotta consider that at the top, at elevation, there's no friction with outer space, so It's just free to move there.
So what? So
Okay,
you buy this
please,
story about the atmosphere being carried along by the earth beneath it? When have you ever known gases to behave like that? You drive down the road, does the same gas just attach itself to the top of your car? Or is that because there's
Part
other
of it
gas?
does.
Where does this happen? Where's the experimental evidence? Why can't you guys describe it succinctly? Why can't you provide any kind of evidence for that this is what takes place?
Well, you know, when a like my big truck, when I go buy something, I mean, if there's just something laying in the road, it blows it away, right? I mean, and that's because I'm dragging air along with me. I'm creating turbulence in the air.
Of course, you're going to create turbulence. I have no doubt about that. In fact, I would expect that we would see huge winds, as Jeremy kind of alluded to, at the surface because of this drag on the atmosphere. This is what I would expect to happen. I think it's absolutely reasonable. The Earth is spinning in this cloud of gas. Some of the gas is pulled with it, but you're going to have varying winds created by that as it rotates and maybe carries some of it along with friction. But it is not going to work how you guys say it works, that it all moves in unison. It all rotates in unison.
Yeah, but you have to understand what Howard just did. He just debunked the model because there is no drag.
Hey, real quick mic check. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, sorry. Carry on. I somehow got cut off for a second. So, whenever you guys get a break in the conversation, I had something that I wanted to say.
Well, just real quick.
If everything's pulled towards the center of the earth, why do we even have volcanoes that erupt? The lava, and when a volcano explodes, where's that force coming from? Is it anti-gravity, or where's that force come from?
I'm not sure, but what were you gonna say, Travis?
Well, this just simply goes back again to first questions. Was this first observed, or is it a conceptual solution to a problem? Now, the very first time I caused Rumpus to stutter, I've got it on my channel, was this very issue. Because he made the statement, we don't have 1,000-mile-an-hour winds at the equator. I said, ho, 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 whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, wait a minute, what makes you think you should? What makes you think you should have that? He said, well, we don't have it. I said, why do you think there should be 1,000? He said, because we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. I said, great. So you know the physics. You know the problem. We don't have it, but we should. So it's not observed. It's simply observed not to be happening the way we know it should be. This is all conceptual, people.
Well,
Howard.
see, Travis, from my perspective, everything's fine. In my mind, I have no issues with the way it works.
Okay, listen very carefully. You didn't listen, Howard. Okay? We know that there is drag. You just argued for drag.
Yeah, there is drag.
Hold on. No, there's not drag. Not, okay. Okay, listen.
Okay, I have never heard a baller mention this either. If the atmosphere is locked to the Earth, as you rise up, the atmosphere would have to spin faster and faster to keep that same lockstep. So
It's
at
a
ground
first law
level,
theory.
if it's
It's a
spinning
first law
1,000 miles an hour at ground level, if you go up 100,000 miles, it's got that much more radius to be circling around. So if it's maintaining the same speed, it's moving at God knows what speed up in the atmosphere.
How high is it?
Okay. I was just
no, we can hear you.
out there.
No, you're right. It would have to go
100,000
faster.
miles. I don't know the exact mass, but the best presentation I've ever saw given on it was from Brian Mullins, which I'm sure you guys know him from back in the day. He's the one that George Hatnook basically doxed and made him leave the community. But that dude was doing some amazing things, and the ballers had no answers for what he was doing because he was actually using math and science, which I know all of us are pretty smart and have a fair grasp of that stuff, but this dude actually knew their formulas and was showing how that they didn't work.
Well, he was a trained
And that's
engineer.
why
Yeah, he was doing some
Yeah.
really good work. But you know, in this case, Howard says drag. Well, drag implies that you know, you're transferring some of the momentum, right, to the air, the atmosphere, but not all of it. Like when you drive your truck past that piece of paper, the drag from the air coming off your vehicle blows that paper around, and maybe it follows you for a little bit, but it doesn't stay in lockstep with your truck, does it?
But if I was in a tube, if I was in a loop in a tube, and I just drove around that loop all the time and just endless driving, eventually, all day.
You'd be in a tube, though, wouldn't you, Howard? You'd be in a container, a tube, which is a container.
If that were true, how would we have winds blowing at different directions?
Yeah.
at high altitude?
Just stop. Howard. Howard. Okay, you now have the burden to demonstrate this crazy idea of putting a truck in a tube and spinning it around. Show us this. Don't tell us.
It's a mind exercise, Travis.
It's bullshit, Howard. I'm not going to let you do it, man.
Well, you can call it bullshit if you want to.
It is
but
bullshit because all you're doing. Okay, listen. This is exactly.
Allow me to fit in your mind, then it's not real.
Allow me to fit.
That's literally what not real is.
All right, go ahead, Howard.
Allow me to. Yeah, eventually, all the air in that tube would be moving with me.
Tell us about Santa Claus, Howard. Tell us how Santa Claus gets around the world in one night.
Have you seen a demonstration of this principle, Howard? Have you seen an experiment?
Howard. It's not a sealed container where you can get all of the air swirling in the same direction with something pushing it. It's not. It's not the same. It's a false analogy.
But what I'm wondering is, okay, it is absolutely a false analogy. But even this false analogy, has that been done? Has that been? Have you put a globe inside a plastic, larger plastic sphere with air in there, and spun the globe up, and after a certain amount of time, all the air moves in unison with the solid globe?
Here's the problem with that is it's like telling me to show you an orbit here on the surface of Earth. You're not going to be able to create the frictionless condition on the
the great scale negator. You can't falsify your model.
Yeah.
I've got a question for Howard whenever there's a break.
Go ahead.
Okay, so Howard, if what you're saying is true and we launch a balloon up into the sky, the farther it goes up, the faster that wind would have to be moving in lockstep to keep in lockstep with the globe.
Right.
So why isn't that once the balloon reaches high altitude that it doesn't start to outpace the Earth underneath of it?
Because it's like you just said, it's lockstep. It does have a greater tangential velocity, but it has the same rotational period.
Is there any test that's ever proved that it has a greater tangential velocity at altitude? Because I've never heard of one.
No, it just makes sense that the atmosphere has a greater tangential velocity because it's further away from the center.
Well, yeah, that it would have to happen that way, but there's no evidence that that's what happened.
That's the problem.
All
This
you're going to do, Josh,
concept
is you
is
just put a truck in a tube.
Yeah, the truck in a tube is just... Think about what you have to go to in order to accept this, Howard. You have to talk about trucks blowing paper on the road. You have to talk about trucks in a tube. You have to talk about balls in a plastic tube, in a container. There is nothing that you can point to in our reality outside of, these mind exercises, or whatever you called it, that will show us, that will demonstrate to us that this is what would take place. We don't see solids carrying along gases in lockstep. anywhere that I'm aware of.
Well, when all right, just say you put a paint mixer, you know, the paddles on a drill in a gallon of paint or 5-gallon bucket. I mean, the longer you sit there and run it, the more of that product moves with you. I mean, you know, it's just the same concept.
Howard, stop, man. Listen to me very carefully. Listen. Hold on. Brian, shush. Listen, Howard. Your analogies don't work. It breaks down, okay? You would have to demonstrate that. No one's ever done that. Yeah, we have all mixed cans of paint, yes. But no one has ever demonstrated in 1 year's time, finally showing that the surface tension paint is in lockstep with whatever's spinning inside, and then as you move away from that center rotation, that everything else. No, okay, Howard, all you did was change your thought experiment, bro. Okay, listen very carefully. This is what I said at the beginning. This is a conceptual answer for a conceptual problem. You know that there should be drag. You know there should be, but there's not.
You'd have if the reason for the gas moving in lockstep with the Earth was that, you know, the Earth's been spinning for a long time. You'd have breakneck sheer wind speeds as you went up.
Yeah.
It's not going to all move at the same speed. It would be going fast at the bottom and then slower on top.
There would, absolutely. There would not be a 1-to-1 transfer of the momentum from the ground to even the gases that are closest to the ground. That's just absolute fantasy.
Well, that's
you would have insane. Go ahead.
Listen to this. You guys want to hear something funny? It's a little bit off topic, and I don't want to change the topic, but I just want to say this real quick because I thought this was hilarious. I've been asking multiple ballers in comment sections to show me proof of water being contained without being contained on 3 sides, which is impossible.
It's impossible. That's impossible.
The answer that I got most recently, you guys are going to love this. They said, well, you can fill a bucket of water up and spin it above your head, and the water does not fly out of the bucket. So that's proof.
Beautiful.
I said, how many sides does a bucket have? And then I've never heard anything back from him since then.
How many sides does the river have?
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I think that this lockstep atmosphere that this heliocentric model, the globe model, requires is an absolute killer. There is zero evidence. If you read these physics stack exchange thing that I've got up right here, and these guys can't even agree on it. These guys mutter one-word answers and talk about friction and then accusing you of not thinking friction is a real thing. Friction does not answer this question. Gravity does not answer this question. Drag does not answer this question. We want to see a frickin' demonstration that will prove this concept because it is utter fantasy.
You couldn't get a...
You forgot the conservation of momentum as well.
Along with what you're saying,
throw that in.
Along with what you're saying, Brandon, that's the one thing I've used at Gym Panda that I've never heard an actual good response for because it's of the whole definition of gas viscosity. It literally, reading from Wikipedia right now, the viscosity of gases is the result of the transfer of each molecule of gas as they pass each other from layer to layer. As gases tend to pass one another, the velocity in the form of momentum of the faster moving molecule speeds up the slower moving molecules. And the slower moving molecules slow down the faster moving molecules until they reach some type of equilibrium. So this is just like you said, you'll never see it equal into lockstep because that's not how it literally works.
Yeah, so go out there and pound these guys with this because they don't have an answer to this. They really don't. Somebody showed me Go ahead.
He described it there. What he was talking about, the faster molecules imparting part of their energy to the slower and vice versa, and eventually reaching an equilibrium, which is the rotation of the Earth.
No.
It wouldn't be the rotation of the Earth. It would be less because the rotation of the Earth mixed with the slower moving molecules on the outside would equal a slightly slower version. You see what I'm saying?
And I think that actually that top of the atmosphere does it have a little bit of.
In
I
other
don't know
words,
that
you would
much
have
about
varying degrees of wind as you rose in altitude from the Earth. All in the same
Absolutely.
direction.
You wouldn't.
Yeah, but here's the problem to that.
All in
problem
the
to that
same
is the feeling-
direction. Absolutely. You wouldn't have, different jet streams going on. You'd have a steady, constant wind speed up there from the drag.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the Felix Baumgartner jump. The Felix Baumgartner jump, the guy wound up 40 miles east. So even if that were so, when you get up there where there's hardly no atmosphere, then it's spinning the wrong way. Take your pick.
Yeah, he should have been west.
No, the jet stream.
Yeah, and I think another thing that now that they're all of a sudden wanting to throw out there that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level. Well, the Felix Baumgartner shot, if you look at the stationary cam inside that capsule at ground level when the doors open, and then again when he jumps out at 120,000 feet, the horizon is at the exact same spot at ground level as it is at 120,000 feet.
Yeah.
So to me, that proves that the horizon does indeed rise to eye level. And I think that the slight drop that we do see is nothing more than just the atmosphere blocking what's there, like we know the atmosphere does. And that small drop is just a case of not being able to see and the clouds being in the way.
Yeah, there's a lot to that. Absolutely. So I don't know about the Baumgartner if that really proves anything, because that was definitely a media stunt of some kind for some kind of propaganda purpose. But I don't know if I'd use it for proof. But you're right; it does look like it's about at the same level in those shots.
Shots really do kind of backfire on them, and I don't think at the time that they thought that anybody would really notice that.
That's possible too. Yeah. But anyway, I'm going to change gears here and go to Brian Leaky. Brian Leaky, what's up, man? You got a presentation for us tonight, huh?
Yeah, it's a small one. Sorry it took so damn long, man. I'm trying to download it, so I kind of winging it. So if you want to do that tonight, yeah, that's what I told you. So if we can, I just uploaded a video to my channel, the Flat Earth Test channel, and I have, if you could play the part about the analemma, and then to do the volume off for like the next 5 minutes. It's kind of short, but I was going to narrate. There's no sound in the like the last 5 minutes of the video. I was just going to narrate that. Is that something we can do?
Yeah, it'd be better if you shared it through your computer, because of the way I have OBS set up. I won't be able to share the sound with everybody in Discord.
Okay.
But I can share your screen and the sound from your screen, and then you can control it anyway.
Perfect. Let me work on that.
Okay, cool.
I have something real quick before he does that.
Me too. Brandon, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Josh, and then Gadget, go ahead.
I'll be quick, I promise.
Gadget,
go ahead, but go ahead. You can go first.
Just everybody in chat, just give a thumbs up to the channel, please. That's all I want. Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, I always forget. Thank you.
The one thing I just wanted to bring to people's attentions, because I think a lot of people have kind of forgotten about it, and some people may have not even seen it, is when Jay Tolan Media did the photogrammetry software. Are you guys familiar with that?
Say it again. What is it?
Where you can see
He's got a computer software program where basically he can take thousands of images and input them into this program, and it uses data points to map it out and create a map from the pictures.
Who's got this?
Jay Tolan Media One, and it's something he did. I think it's about 7-8 months old now. And it got a little bit of play when it very first happened, but I don't think people really quite understand how significant it is. and I've been trying to bring it back up lately because I think that's like, I think that could really be the way that we prove this, because he, I think, mapped I think it was
Yeah, I know about
270
GT.
square miles, and I think there was only less than a foot of deviation, and it's not. Every time I brought it up to Glovers, they said, "Oh, well, he just misjudges what he sees and makes shit up." Well, this is something that takes the human equation out of it, because it's taking the pictures, plotting points on them, overlaying them, and then taking the elevations and actually creating a map. You guys should really go check it out, because I feel like if we could get that software and map larger areas of land with it, that could be what proves the flat Earth.
Yeah, I'll have to check that video out again. I do remember him doing something like that, but you're right, I didn't pay it much attention
Yeah,
at the
I'll
time.
try to after this is over with, I'll send you a link to it. I'll either put it in the comments or send you an email, but I remember I was blown away when I first seen it, and it seems like it kind of slipped under the radar, and I don't think a lot of people quite understood the significance of it.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to have the link. Okay, Brian, I think I see your camera on or something. Is that you?
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you well.
Okay, I'll get it on this then. Tell me if you could hear this one.
Don't hear anything right now.
You hear that?
No.
Okay, can you see anything?
I do. I see, like, it looks like I'm looking at a camera in a dark room, maybe.
Okay, hold on, man. I don't know why this ain't working.
Yeah,
Okay,
I see the ground and some leaves.
A camera in a dark room.
Yeah, I see a piece of paper on the ground or something white on the ground.
Go back to landscape.
Right. And now, all right, now you see me?
Now I see you. Yep. Okay. Yeah, maybe
right,
go to
well,
landscape, Brian, so you're bigger or something.
Yeah, but this is the problem, is I'm trying to show this video. Hold on.
Oh, you're trying to
Is
do it
there
from
any
your
way
phone?
for me to make this
Yeah.
full screen?
Yeah, you
No,
just click on it. You should be able to drag it out or something, Josh.
Okay, sorry. This is my first time using this, so I'm...
So do you see tiles representing each individual on your phone? Usually in the top right, it'll say watch screen.
I see everyone's pictures, but when I click on it, it doesn't give me any kind of option to enlarge
You get
it.
like double tap it.
Brian, maybe it's not going to work from your
Okay.
cell phone. I didn't realize you
I
were on
got
your
it.
phone sharing that. Maybe I'll just bring up the video then. And that'll be
If you
easier.
could. Hey, I can narrate it. If you just play the video, I'll narrate exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, that works.
And then,
That'll work.
It's only about 8 or 9 minutes long. I had to narrate about 5 or 6 minutes of it anyway.
Okay, and it's this sun presentation, I take it, right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, let me get it up on the screen.
Come on,
And
Brian. Come on, Brian.
I will share my. I should be sharing my screen already in Discord. So
Yep.
you're ready, Brian. Tell me when to hit play, and we'll get going.
Yeah, you can. Before you hit play, I want to say that if you get a globe, okay, we've had this about the sun coming in from the south at Australia, and you can wiggle it just right to make that happen. But to do it properly, okay, to do what the analemma represents is where the sun is at when you look up. And if I'm not mistaken, it's like noon every day from where you're at on Earth. I think it might be designated at the equator, but it's what you see in the night sky. So they can take and project angles all they want. But yeah, go ahead and hit play. So what I'm showing here is I set up a laser and I pulled it a distance away, okay, and I have it lined up exactly pointed at the equator, and the globe is tilted 23.4, Okay, and you'll see it in just a second. He zooms in and shows. You see, okay, you see the laser, the little dot on the laser. It's right on the equator.
Yep.
And then I rotate the globe, and you see how the dot goes up with the analemma. Okay, that's the northern hemisphere summer.
I got nothing but roboting.
In Discord, Travis.
Sounds fine to me.
It's just you, Travis.
Yeah, I'm getting
Yeah, I
it.
can hear him pretty. I can hear him
Stop
pretty
it!
good.
Stop it for 1 second. Stop it for 1 second, Brandon.
Okay.
All right, sorry.
Okay.
I just won't watch. It's when I stream the video too. Sorry about that.
Okay, so what I did is I spun the globe a full 360 degrees and showed that the laser I have lines up with the analemma. Okay, and so the sun's positioned just right. So where you see that dot on the globe, that's what you would see if you looked up in the sky, standing on a globe. Okay, and so then you could hit play.
Okay.
Okay, so now I outlined due east and due west. They're pretty close to the latitudes, but they're a little bit off. But I outlined and put emphasis on the globe of due east and due west from the 30-degree latitude, which is right in the middle of Australia and right around Jacksonville, Florida. Okay, now you see where the analemma is. Okay, where the sun is. That's where you see the sun. And it is just a tiny bit north of east. Okay, if you were in northern Australia, you could say a arc minute south. But and if what they say is that the sun comes up, okay, from the south, okay, then and everything's the same. It's you have the polar, circumpolar, or star rotation in the north, star rotation in the south. So everything in the north should be the same as the south. That would mean where I'm at, the sun should come up in the north during my winter. Or during my summer, the sun should be coming from the north. If it's coming from the south at 30 degrees south, it should be coming from the north at 30 degrees north 6 months later. Okay, but that is not what happens. There's the analemma. There's the emphasis on latitudes. The sun, it does come up from the south on the globe. Okay, and here's where I show. Okay, so what you can do, you can take the sun and lower it at 23.4 degrees and straighten out the globe. In other words, this is the trick they pull. They take the sun, they do it on their computers. You see how I put the laser on the ground? It's an angle leveler, so I have it set at 23.4 degrees, have it angled up at the middle of the analemma, okay? And then I center the globe. But here's the problem. You spin the globe, now the dot stays on the equator all year round. So what I show is what you would have to do is you would have to do an elliptical orbit with the laser, not the Earth. It's not the same. So when Stingray showed in his program that if you just lower the sun from the equator down to 23.4 degrees and spin the Earth, that is not the same. That is deception. It's smoke and mirrors, and that's how they get away with that shit. And I was showing it in that video. Now here I show the distance to the sun during aphelion or perihelion and aphelion. And they say it's about they claim it's about a 3-degree difference. I guess it's 1.7 million miles one direction and 7 million the other. So it adds up to around 3 degrees. Okay, and then so it's just more information on that. And what's coming is what they claim the analemma is they claim that because on a flat Earth it works perfect. Okay, it shows the big ring in the south, no matter where you're at on Earth. Now, what it also shows here is the timing. Okay, they say that the distance does not matter. Okay, it's the angle. It's the 23.4 degree tilt that causes seasons. Okay, now I show here where on a flat Earth it would be how close the sun is. There's no big, long, grand explanation. It's if the sun's closer to you, then it's summer. If it's further away, then it's winter. Okay, and so what their excuse for the loop being bigger and the bottom loop, the southern hemisphere loop on the globe, is the orbit. Okay, now if the orbit is elliptical, okay, I'll buy that for a minute. But you look in a little bit deeper. You look in a little bit deeper, and you okay, wait a minute. If it's only a 3% difference, that should reflect onto the analemma. The loop at the bottom should only be at least close to 3% bigger, and it is a lot bigger. So that is a total failure and a total breakdown, okay? Now I show coming up.
Hold on.
Hold on. Argue later.
Let him finish his presentation, then we'll.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Argue later. And if you want to, and because before you do, I want to point out what I have coming up is the fact that what you have coming up is pictures of the solar analemma and the lunar analemma. Okay. Well, the moon's perihelium and aphelium they're different. They're different than the sun. Once again, you could say you could contribute that to an elliptical orbit, but the percentages aren't even near the same. They aren't near the same, and so it breaks down. The fact of the matter is, in real life, the sun does come up from the south in Australia.
Brilliant.
Okay, just do match in real life. The lunar and the solar analemmas, from what I could find, they match. But in real life, or the information they're giving us is conflicting because the moon it's way more than 3%. Okay, but and also I did the math. Okay, so if you take a let's say the sun and the moon, or the Earth and the moon are roughly between 0 and 240, a 250,000 miles away from the sun in separation. Okay, so if you take the shadow of the sun, of the Earth, or the moon, and you put it on the Earth, okay, so the moon's diameter is about 2,000 miles. So the diameter of the Earth is 2,000 miles. Okay, hit pause for a second.
Yeah,
Sure.
there'll be some left over, but wait.
Josh, your mic's open.
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Okay, so you all right, you can hit play. So you take the 2,000 miles diameter of the sun, and the eclipse, the total eclipse on Earth is between 30 and 70 miles. We're going to average it out at 50 miles, and you take the percentage. I have it written down in there, but I think it's I think it's 4.5% or something, and it comes out to 50 miles. That's about 4.5% of the moon's diameter. Okay. Now you take and you project that onto the moon. You take the Earth's diameter, and you apply the percentage of the shadow we get. The distance to the sun is roughly the same. It's no more than 250,000 miles off, which is hardly any percent, not even 0.5%. Okay, and the shadow on the moon should be the shadow on the moon should be 200 miles. Okay, now you could say, even if you could come up with some bullshit, but you have to be 10 times. You can argue with whatever you want, but you can't argue with reality. And according to them, you can't argue with the math. And they can have some kind of math if they want, but and so now you see the pause that for a second, Brandon.
Okay.
You see the sun when it's at the end of its throw of light. We get these red sunsets and red sunrises. Okay, it's typical. Okay, so what I'm bringing to the table here, and shout out to Pebbles on the Pond for demonstrating it, is when that cold air comes in, it makes the light disappear. Okay, and I can't imagine it's going up, but so I'm throwing it out there today that the sun's light has a limited throw, which I think we can all agree on that. And as it goes off in the distance, okay, so if it happens to be what the trigonometry dictates, in like between 3,000 and 5,000 miles, or even 10,000 miles, it's going to get lower as it goes off in the distance, but that's not going to make it disappear completely. But the refraction will. Now, on a globe, they claim refraction, okay? That's how they claim their selenium, okay? They say the sun is completely set. We've all heard this before. The sun is completely set, but the refraction is causing it somehow to reverse the shadow. And so if you can accept all that, but you can't accept on a flat Earth lunar eclipse that the sun's light is not quite making it the same way the sun sets, demonstrated by Pebble on the Pond that when the lunar eclipses always happen at aphelium. So they always happen at the fullest of moons and when the moon is farthest away. So for my my model, air quotes, to make sense, you know, it's going to be a slightly elliptical orbit over a flat plane, okay? And it's going to rotate around. It's going to be, they're, you know, damn near similar, but just throughout the year, it goes around, and it's slightly, just barely elliptical in the moon's orbit as well, where about twice a year they line up aphelion when they're farthest apart, and they hit a spot where the sun's light does not quite reach the moon. Now, you've seen in that, you can hit play. You hit play, you see the blood moon. It looks just like a sunset. This is just too many coincidences, in my opinion, building up. I think if we put our heads together and worked on this, we could make perfect sense of how to make a perfectly reasonable model with demonstrations. As far as the eclipse goes, like I said, that would explain the sunset with a little help from refraction. It would explain the lunar eclipses, and here it is right here. Shout out to the Flat Earth Sun Moon Zodiac Clock app. I got this, and it shows the way the sun and the moon rotate around, and I think that they're real close with that. I think the only thing missing is a slightly elliptical orbit, not like about just a 1%, maybe 3%, like the globe models. I think that's the only thing missing on our model, and I believe that. Okay, so this shows that, and I had one other thing. I was looking up the eclipses all the way back from like the 1900s, and from 1900 all the way up to 2020, and they're in a pattern, man. It's a pattern that we could figure out if we apply it to a flat Earth. It would help us with our map, and it's we all heard about the what is it, the solar cycle. Okay, they claim every 18 years it repeats itself, but they're about every 6 months, and I'm about to scroll through some of them and show that they're about every 6 months, and it only deviates by a few days, and it averages about 2 a year, but it's a pattern. So if we put our heads together and match this, if we go, and with the last thing with the star rotation, you could say, every star rotation I see from the equator shows stars going off to the left, stars going off to the right, and stars going straight. Measurable separation, okay? And this is the last hurdle for the model, is we got to put our heads together, and it's either one of two things. Either there's not the two rotations they say, but I mean, it can't. If I'm seeing measurable separation, and the further they go, the more they're separating off the distance, that would suggest that there's 3 separate rotations. So I want to throw that out there, that there possibly is a third star rotation on the Earth, and it would probably be somewhere by Australia. But that's about it, man. I wish I could have put that together a little bit better, but
listen,
I think I gave.
Shout out to Brian Leaky, man. You're such an innovative. You're so innovative, man. And if Howard
really, Brian, you do a lot.
Yeah, if Howard has taught us anything, thought experiments are the answer. So you just answered the problem right there, man.
If I could ask just a very quick question and get your guys' opinion on one thing, and tell me if my thinking is faulty on this. But I've always thought that on a globe Earth, there would be no chance to have so many different, trying to figure out how to word this, so many differences in the amount of time that the sun is in the air. So, like, say I live in Indiana. Right now, we're getting sunlight for about maybe 8 hours a day if we're lucky. But in the summer, we're getting like 16 hours of sunlight a day. And
Yeah, they
I've
can
always,
explain that. But I'll tell you what, the time zones are wildly inconsistent, man. The way they're angled and all that. And even the way I started to add that in the video. That's so funny you brought that up. That was like my alternate topic, was the way the time zones, and I think they've done that before when shot Nathan Oakley when they did the map in the sun on the earth and showed that time of date was out by an hour in some spots. And, you know, they can make up for it, but it's wildly inconsistent with the time zones. In fact, what you just brought up is perfect because when we're planting stuff here in Florida, we depending on where you're at in the country, you have a different time to plant everything. And that time, it wraps around from the bottom of the United States, and it wraps up the west coast of California times to plant things. So I plant at the same time as somebody in Seattle, Washington, which is insane because if you're in Georgia right above me, if you're in North Georgia, you wait a couple months to plant certain things. But I'm lined up with Seattle, Washington. So that a globe, in my opinion,
I've just always wondered what everybody else's kind of thoughts were on that, because in my head I have a hard time. Even I've heard them talk about the tilt and things like that, but I still even think with the tilt that no matter what, you're always going to have half the earth facing the sun, no matter what the tilt is. So I just don't see how that you would have days of more or less than 12 hours of sunlight. I could see it varying slightly, but not 6-8 hours of variation. But you know how it is. They've got an answer for everything, whether it makes sense or not.
Yeah, they've spent a long time, a lot of work on putting the model together. But Brian, that presentation was really awesome. There was a lot of information to think about in there. I have had the same thought in the past about the Analema and why the bottom is so big and the top so small, and it's the same wherever you go. In my head, it makes sense if you have a sun that is increasing its the radius of its circles as it goes out from the center of the Earth. That's what I would expect to see, something like that, but I had never thought it through or researched it completely. So it was interesting to see that in there. I'm not sure I completely understood everything in your presentation just because it was so much information right at first.
Yeah, I might have to go back and rewatch it, but it was definitely a lot of info in there. And thanks, Brian, for doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're roboting a little bit.
Another thought I've been having lately, well, actually for a few years now, but I haven't really discussed it with anyone, is I'm actually starting to believe that maybe the sun changes in altitude as well as it makes its path from north to south. And maybe that's why when the sun's in the far north making the smallest circuit, maybe it's actually higher in the air, and that's why it doesn't get toasted. Because if it was making that small of a circuit and it was at, say, the same height as it was when it's over the Tropic of, I believe, Cancer, is that the equator?
I'll tell you what, man. I'm going to refine my. I'm going to pull that video down because there's only sound in the first couple minutes. I was just uploading it so we'd have something to present. But I'm going to refine that video, and there's about 3 topics I'm going to break down and give my opinion on it and what it could be and what makes perfect sense. But yeah, I'm going to make better sense of it. But I want to say this. Yeah, it's in my model. The sun is a focal point, and it can be demonstrated with a lot of things. But like Death Valley, the hottest temperatures on Earth, for some reason, are in the lowest places on Earth. Like the record lowest altitudes from sea level on Earth, or have the record highs. So that's a little clue to one of the videos coming out.
Yeah, I actually think the sun spirals around and actually changes in altitude throughout the year too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was just wondering if anybody else had ever had that thought, or
yeah.
I don't know how you would go about proving it, but
the sun is
it just seems like it would make sense to me.
Well, as Howard demonstrated, that thought experiments are proof. So you just did it. Good job.
Yeah.
Travis is trying his best to trip my trigger.
Yeah, yes.
Damn, I proved the flat Earth on my first show. You guys better be sending me some type of award for that.
It's in the mail, buddy.
You got it, man.
What if we put the sun in a tube, Howard? How would that work? And then kind of spin it around and see how
that would just, hell, let's try that. Let's see what happens.
With your truck. Put it in the tube with your truck, and then we could spin it all around and see if the atmosphere sticks to the sun.
We would
also, if you think of which I believe there's a firmament, I know not everyone does, but if the firmament has a bowl shape and the sun, I haven't really decided whether, nobody will ever know, but I don't know whether to think if the sun is inside, under the firmament, or actually within it, but that would make sense with the elevation changes if the dome is bowl shaped, that as it goes to the north, the actual firmament is higher in the north, so the sun would be higher in the north and lower in the south.
All we'll ever know for sure.
Doesn't mainstream
To me,
science
I
tell
will
us that the sun
I
is
will know for
further
sure.
3 million miles away, coming to the northern summer solstice? June 28th.
Yeah, you'd expect to see an overall temperature difference. I brought this to him in Gems a while ago. The overall temperature difference is colder in the south, and you'd expect it to be hotter because that's when the sun's closer to. Now, granted, it's only 3 million miles, which is a small fraction, but still, you'd expect to get closer to the campfire and get hotter. But that's not what
the model is like. Completely opposite to reality.
Well, it makes sense.
It's opposite to what we see in real life, man.
It appears to get smaller, so it shrinks towards the size of the tropical cancer.
Yeah, but
just because it's further away, and when it's closer, it would appear to make a bigger circle, even though it's still going exactly the same speed the whole time.
It's closer in the winter, summer. I mean, it's closer in the winters. I mean, in the southern hemisphere.
Winter season's perfectly plus the end
summer.
of the sun. By getting further away, June 22nd, and closer until December 22nd. So it's spiraling up and down the whole time.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but it seems clear to me that all this tilt, the 23.4, and the elliptical orbit, and all this crap that they came up with is required to explain the simplest solution to the entire problem, which is the sun is just circling back and forth above a flat plane. It's like they had to engineer the model to match that, and it seems to match perfectly.
They've progressively added things like that over the years because they don't have answers for certain phenomena. So then when something happens that they don't have an answer for, they've got to rush to the drawing board to think of something else to make it work mathematically.
Yep.
Let me say one more thing, y'all.
I got a question that I wish I didn't have. Phil Bell, shout out Phil, retracted, raised something that I can't get my head around. Okay, so if the sun travels across horizon to horizon in the wintertime for all of us, let's say in 8 hours, but then it does the same horizon to horizon in 15 hours in the summertime, does it go horizon to horizon doesn't change? Does it go half the speed in summertime, or twice the speed in wintertime? How do we get around that?
I think that has to do with the
higher
height.
it is, the longer you can see it.
I think that has to do with the height of the sun, because if it's higher in the north during their summer, it's going to change. And it's just so hard to even really discuss things like this because the atmosphere, we don't know what medium the sun is in. We don't know if, a lot of us assume there is a firmament, but we don't know if the sun was in the firmament, out of the firmament. I mean,
yeah, Josh, I agree, man. I just hate not having an answer.
I tend to think that the sun's being magnified because if you've ever seen the guy that replicated the Eratosthenes experiment, I think he was using a lens to magnify the sun, and that's how he was able to get all the sticks and shadows to line up with what you would see on a globe, even though he was doing it on a flat plane. I don't know if you guys saw that one.
the Eratosthenes don't work like they say, guys. Man, look at here. If you go to up north, if you take a flight from let's say Dublin to Hampton, Canada, you're averaging about 30 degrees per mile. Okay. The reason they had to make an azimuthal equidistant map is because if you're mapping this thing out with circles the way the sun does, then you have to make the circles bigger. So it doesn't mean it doesn't work. It doesn't mean the AE map don't work. The circles have to be bigger, but if you're drawing the continents the same size, then you have to make them match. You have to make them match, so you have to do a scale, and that's what they mean by azimuthal equidistant. In other words, think about this.
I'm sorry.
Okay, let's say the first 30 degrees latitude around the. If you're going to put it on a globe, you have to do it like that. There's no getting around it because, like I said, and if you start doing these things, if you start looking for sun angles, they break down by the when you start getting up higher north. Like I said, it's 30. You know, as far as where people are at, it gets down to about 30 degrees per. It's 30 miles per 1 degree. So they keep preaching this 69 miles per degree. That varies everywhere on Earth. So that breaks down right on its face.
Yeah, even when they try to, in their heads, to talk about the flat Earth model, they always still use the globe model principles trying to explain a flat Earth. And it's like no matter how many times thousands of people have told them that, they can't get it through their head that things are not going to work the same, the distances are different, everything's different.
Right.
Yeah, it amazes me how many of these globers are flat Earth experts. Like they know exactly what would happen on a flat Earth, and
yeah,
and you know they would know how the sky works on a flat Earth.
Or this wouldn't work on a flat Earth. That wouldn't work on a flat Earth. There'd be no horizon on a flat Earth.
A lot of the times,
in my opinion, that's the fucking dumbest one. Is that there'd be no horizon on a flat Earth?
Yeah, you can see
a
across
lot of the
ocean.
times when they say, "Oh, this doesn't work."
You move your head up and down alongside the side of a brick wall. Every line of the brickwork is horizontal wherever your eyes align with, and all the lines beneath you will be converging upwards. All the lines above will be converging downwards, and that same effect is going to happen out in reality. So you're always going to have convergence happening, whether or not you've got brickwork. The lines happening, that it's still happening. That's why the horizon is always at a high level. It's always going to be horizontal.
A lot of times when they say, "Oh, this wouldn't work on a flat Earth, that wouldn't work on a flat Earth," they're still using their model of how the sky works when they say these things.
Yep.
That's the major thing.
They're still light years away.
Yeah, they're still using their model.
Freaking sad experiment that Edibles had on Jose's the other night, saying how does the moon get blocked on that freaking horribly scaled object he had, and then acted like he couldn't figure out the atmosphere would play an effect in it.
Who's that, Erebus?
Yeah.
No, he's not even worth engaging, man. It's just absolute nonsense from him. Absolute nonsense. He'll never answer a question, and then no matter what happens during the engagement, he'll act like he somehow outsmarted you, and you'll just be standing there going, what the fuck just happened? That didn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, he's worse than Rumpus, in my opinion. He's probably my least favorite person in any of these chats.
Yeah, there you go, Erebus. You've accomplished something.
Well, you do know that
ears are itching.
Just gonna say, you do know that Erebus and the Aether are mortal enemies, right?
I was not aware of that. Although I have seen him make quite a bit of content pointed at the Ether, and he speaks about it in a very mocking tone when he refers to the Ether ban.
Yeah, which was
I've got
funny
a
when
question for you guys. I think.
Hold on, Josh.
Go ahead, Travis. Sorry.
That's
all right.
Yeah,
Travis.
that's okay. It's all right. I'm just going to make the same point, just real quick. I didn't come across it until I was looking up the background to my choice on the Ether, and saw that the antonym that they had in Wiki was Erebus, and I just had to laugh out loud. I was like, no way, because I had so much conflict with him, and I thought this is just poetic justice.
Yeah, I've never knew that either. That's crazy.
It really says that? That's hilarious, dude.
But what I was going to ask, and I think I've heard Flat Earth Data mention this before, and I'm not a big electronics guy, but there has to be some sort of electronic device that will, basically like a gyro, hold its position in space. So whenever you set it, no matter what, it would have like a computer chip in it. So no matter what deviation you made, like say you took it on an airplane, it would show if you went down 10 feet, it would basically plot a graph of how far up, how far down. It seems to me there would have to be something like that that we could use and get on a plane and show that it's not moving, or that the Earth's
When they
not
say you
curving.
go up, when they're saying you go up 10 feet and down 10 feet, they're saying it's happening off a curved surface, though. So
Yeah, but if you could maybe take
everything they
a
map.
flight like all the way across the United States and plot the entire flight.
It's called the flight data recorder.
if you take a flight across America and you find out there's no elevation drop, that's not going to be a shocker because their elevation is off a curved surface.
Right,
so.
right.
Anything they give you mapped out on a ball, mapped out with latitude and longitude, is mapped out for a ball, so therefore it's going to match a ball. You can map out a city and give it different azimuths. You could give different datums, and you could make a sphere that if you measured it out, you could say, see, look, this is the distance for a sphere, you know. But I want to say one more thing about the presentation. Did you see what I was talking about with the sun down in Australia? Did you understand where I was going with that, Brandon?
That's the part that I was going to ask you about that I wasn't very clear, and I thought maybe I needed to listen to it again. What were you getting at there in regards to the sun angle?
What I'm getting at, this is what Stingray did, okay? He on his shout out Stingray, but
when he and Data had that disagreement a while back. Yeah, I remember that. Go through it though, because I still don't understand it.
So what he did is so they say the Earth is rotating, of course, and it's angled at 23.4 degrees. So what he did is he in his program, he took and he put the sun level, the moon, the freaking Earth upright level, and then he moved the sun down 23.4 degrees and started spinning the Earth. And I was demonstrating how that don't work. If you do that in real life, okay, then you'd have to spin the sun, okay, for it to match. You can do that, but then you don't spin the Earth, okay? It doesn't work out the same as if you have a 23.4 degree tilted Earth spinning that. It shows the way the sun goes up and down the analemma, and it shows the way it goes around, but it's not the same. You'd have to take the sun and do an elliptical orbit around the Earth. It's not. In other words, if you're going to reverse them, then you have to reverse the whole thing. If you're going to put the sun down low, that would make the sun come in from the south in Australia. But if you spin the Earth, that's not the way you get to do it. If you're going to switch them, then you got to start maneuvering the sun at the same 23.4 degrees. So it'd be a little bit like coming in from the top and bottom. You know, it would go up and down to keep that same path that we see in reality. In other words, if you map out a dot on a globe with a laser beam at 0 degrees with a tilted Earth, it doesn't map out the same as if you line up with a 23.4 degrees and then spin the Earth. It's different. You'd have to spin the sun. That's what I was trying to demonstrate. Maybe I'll elaborate a little bit better when I break these videos down.
Just to add on to something you just said, I actually got an answer. Remember we were talking about the selenilian and how the shadow comes in off the top?
Yeah.
I got an answer from the Globers of why that happens. You ready for this one? It's not coming in from the top. That was their answer. You did you not hear it earlier, Brandon? It was in Gems right before the show.
No, I didn't hear that.
Yeah,
they all come in from the top.
Yeah, but it's not.
Didn't Ares' failure prove that the stars were what was moving and not the Earth, like over 100 years ago?
All eclipses
because
come in
every
from the
time
top.
I bring that up to the ballers, they claim that that's not what it proved. And I even remember hearing about that in high school and was always kind of curious about it. So if that's not what it proves, why is it called Aries failure, and what exactly does it prove?
Yeah, why
That's
don't they show
something
that in school, right? Why don't they show
Yeah.
that in universities?
I do actually remember hearing about that, and I believe like junior high, but it was just like they talked about it one day and that was it, and kind of just whistled past it. But even since then, I always kind of thought, well, if they prove that the stars are moving and not the Earth, then what's even the argument? And I haven't yet to even hear a globe earther once address that, of how that would be possible, or
You're
what
right. They divert.
claim that
They
experiment proves.
What would Aries failure?
That's a good point, bro.
Can you
Basically,
look it up?
they set out to prove that this was back when the debate was still going on whether the Earth was geostationary or heliocentric. And they came up with this experiment. Basically, I don't know the exact specifics of it, but they had a telescope with light in it, and somehow they looked at a star and were able to see the angle that the star was coming through this telescope.
Yeah, they put
And
water in it.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly all the specifics of it and how it proved it, but that's why it's called Aries failure, because they set out to prove that the Earth was moving, and it actually proved that the stars were moving. And now it's like that was done like back in the early 1900s, and now every time you bring it up to a glober, they just immediately change the subject and won't
Let me
even
take
talk
over
about
right
it.
there. Think about this. Okay, so if light is leaving the star, right, and it's a particle, okay, it's a particle, then it's left the star and it's traveling, okay, it's traveling separate from the star. So if that's the case, and you fill up the telescope with water, okay, then that should slow the light down. So you should have to adjust the angle, okay? In other words, if you're slowing the light down, you already have to adjust the angle a little bit of the telescopes.
Yeah,
so if you slow the light down, and you should have to adjust the telescope. But when they did it, they didn't have to move the telescope at all. So to me, that suggests light's not a particle either. But they also obfuscate the Michelson Gale. They say that Michelson went to his deathbed not believing in the results. They try to say the results about the the actual results of what they claim is that there's no ether. He didn't believe the results because he came up with a null result that there's no motion. That's why he went to his deathbed not believing their results, because think of the results that they claim from the experiment. That's what he denied. So plenty of obfuscation there.
They found a steady deviation in every experiment, but it wasn't what it should have been if the Earth was a globe. So therefore, they just threw it out, saying that because it wasn't as high as what a globe would allow, that it was just basically an error in their
That's
experiment.
what it says in the paperwork too. It says in the experiment itself, it says since we know that the Earth is moving at roughly 30 miles per second, and we're not detecting that, then that's how they come to the conclusion. It says in the paper, since we know the Earth is moving around the sun at approximately 30 miles a second. That's how it starts. I'm like, wow, that's
right,
what
that's
they call
the same
science.
Thing.
Yeah.
Right, guys, this is the same thing with every single one of their arguments. Since we know the Earth is rotating and we do not feel drag, the atmosphere is attached to the Earth.
Yep. Exactly. So
Yeah,
what is the first
every
thread? That's what I want to know. What's the first thread? Where do we
And
pull?
Cavendish too.
It's all circular. It's circular. You'll
know-
never find a first. Go ahead, Brian.
Since we know mass attracts mass, then we can work out the density of the Earth by putting two known weights and measuring their, since we know that mass attracts mass, that's how they start that experiment off, and they call that science.
I would say gravity is probably, you're going to come to a thread, and it's either going to be gravity or refraction. Those are going to
I'm
be
telling
two
you,
threads.
Brandon, I think the biggest nail in the coffin is going to be if we all figure out that photogrammetry video I was telling you about and really get it down pat to where we know exactly what it's showing and how to explain it. I think that could be so huge, but not enough people know about it or exactly how it works to really be able to go against the ballers, because right now, as soon as somebody starts kind of slipping up on their words or stumbling, then they're gonna say, "Oh, you don't even know what you're talking
what's it
about."
called?
Blah blah blah.
What's it called? New guy. Hey, what's your name?
My name's Josh.
All right,
I go
what's
by
that thing?
in chat. I go by Josh, the Flat Earth Jedi.
We'll just call you Josh. What's that thing you just mentioned?
It's Jay Tolan Media is the one who has it, and it's actually a software program. It's called photogrammetry software, and what it does is he takes all kinds of pictures from when he flies all across the United States and overseas. Well, he can then take all these pictures he takes and he downloads them to his computer, and this software actually stitches the pictures together and creates a map out of the real pictures. So then with thousands of pictures, and I mean, we're talking like probably thousands, at least hundreds of miles of data, and it maps it all out, and it gives you elevation, it gives you everything. So he did it, and I can't remember what the total area was of the land that he ended up mapping, but the deviation was like ridiculous. He compared it to the Earth curve calculator, and it was nowhere close to what it should have been. But it's on his channel, and it's called something photogrammetry software. I'm gonna post it in comments when the show's over, so you guys can check it out. But I think that would be I think that'd be worthy of a whole show, because I think if we could all kind of buckle down on that and possibly even maybe pitch in and get that software, because I think that's going to be one of the things that could really put this to bed for good.
Brandon mentioned some software that would really help. Go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Jeremy.
Brandon mentioned some software that would really help us out too. What was that brain thing you were talking about, Brandon?
Oh, you know that mind mapping software? There was this conspiracy theorist,
like the LiDAR thing.
No. This is just for mapping out like your ideas and how different things are connected together. It's used by researchers, and let me see if I can find an example of it. But it's just like you build like a online database with things mapped. You probably made these in school, but there's software that allows you to do it and save files and photos and whatever else, and you can dig into the different layers, because we have so much information that we collect between all of us.
Too much.
So much resources and stuff. And it's just all over the place. So one person knows about this, one person knows about that, has access about that. If we had some kind of online mind map or database where people could add like a wiki, essentially, that would be really cool. And I know there's a couple out there, but
yeah, that would be awesome.
Doesn't seem like anybody in this community is doing anything like that.
Technology
like we need to have all
our Flat Earth data talk about a few times, and it's the new I believe it's LiDAR, and I think that could be huge too, which that's not something that, you can just go buy at freaking Target or something. It'd be obviously something that we'd have to kind of all pitch in on, but I think it does kind of the same thing that the photogrammetry software does.
We need to get
it just maps points and then creates a map out of all the points.
Right.
We need to get our arguments laid out straight, because a lot of these flat earthers are coming in and just getting destroyed because they don't know the arguments, they don't have the rebuttals for what the globers say. You know, if we had this all in one spot, we know what they're gonna. You know, we know what they're gonna say.
We should call it Wokepedia.
Well, yeah, we are the front lines, right? We're the front lines, and I mean, we could break it down the way Oakley and them, you know, do it, and just stop the debate. I admire what he does and appreciate it, but it gets monotonous, man. It gets monotonous.
I
And,
used to watch
you know,
Oakley all the time, but I can't stand that dude anymore.
Well, it gets monotonous, man. I'm not gonna dog him, but he uses sound logic, and if you come to anything to that show except for with sound logic, you're not gonna get nowhere. But where we're at is we're kind of a different level than him, man. That's why Ranty's separated to begin with, is because we're trying to figure shit out. Because look, the sun is maybe we'll never know exactly where it is, but we can model it according to where we see it. Okay, where we see it. That's where it is, you know. That's how we do the model. But as far as you know, proving it scientifically, we'll never get to that. But that's boring, man. We're trying to figure shit out. I like your idea, Josh. Josh, that's a great idea, brother.
We had someone pin another. I think it was yesterday, maybe, when they wanted to triangulate the, you know, the distance to the moon or something, and then we asked them, or the sun, and then we said, hey, let's plug in the numbers to the moon. You know, because you'd get the same numbers. You're using all the same, you know, you're using all the same numbers, the same size and everything. So, you know what I mean?
And another
do the
thing
trick.
that I've had an idea of a couple years, and this would be it'd be a pretty tall task, but and I don't know if anybody's ever tried it or if it's even possible, but if we could get multiple airplanes to actually try to follow the sun and have different legs, like one plane follows the sun for as long as they can as they're running out of fuel. Another plane gets up in the air and gets right there and starts following it.
And then what?
Yeah,
and
I'm
then
sure they've already did that, but
what's that do for us ultimately, though?
Hey, did y'all see that pilot, man?
That could at least show us what the path of the sun is and if it matches the glow model.
Yeah, well, look at the analemma. That's where it is. Wherever that analemma is at, that's where it is. But yeah, we'd have to do the analemma multiple places on it. Yeah, it would take time and effort. I'm willing to try. But look, y'all see that video with the pilot, and he ain't making no claims, but he says that how he sees the sun setting as he takes off from JFK, okay, and he's flying to Moscow, and then he sees the sun coming up over the horizon about a couple hours into his flight, man. And that got me thinking. That kind of inspired the video that I made, but I left out a lot of information on that. Like I said, I'm gonna break that down into about 3 different videos.
That had me in like a complete mind fucked for weeks after he said that, because
that would suggest
I don't
there's
know
two
how
suns,
that would
or it's
work on
reflecting.
any shape of Earth.
That's the answer. We just got to figure that out. That's the answer right there. That's got to be the answer. If a pilot's seen it, like I said, he wasn't making no claims. He's just saying what he's seen, and he did that route regularly.
Oh yeah, I believe he. I believe he was telling the truth for sure.
Yeah, he was.
These celestial
And you can clearly see
these celestial objects are indicative of reflection, because whenever you do it on a flat Earth, you're constantly getting different numbers for your calculation.
And I'm looking at Orion
which would
right
happen,
now, man.
Which would happen if you try to. Which would happen if you've ever tried to triangulate a reflection. That's what you would get. You would get different. You wouldn't get the same results every time. You wouldn't be able to figure it out. So
look, I'm right around 29 degrees, guys.
Sorry,
I'm right around 29 degrees. Look, I'm right around 29 degrees. Okay, and the northern hemisphere. But okay, I see Orion coming up. I'm looking at Orion right now. It's dominating my southeast vision. It's like right over the equator, right? And that's why I made that video about Orion, where I got multiple people saying it's a winter constellation, and you can only see it 6 months out of the year, because one guy in the video says where it's like an anti-sun, because it's like opposite the sun. And I'm looking at it right now. It's about 45 degrees, and the sun set here about 4 hours ago, and it's just like dead opposite the sun. So if it's opposite the sun, we shouldn't see it for 6 months out of the year. But I showed where, like I said, a professor says right there in his video, he gets the information from NASA. He gets the information from NASA and says that reviewing Orion, today's night sky, June 12th or something, June 12th night sky. And he pulls up NASA and they start reviewing Orion in the night sky. And then I pulled up another video showing Orion in the southern hemisphere. So that's what they try to say. Well, it's in the southern hemisphere. That don't matter. If it's opposite the Earth from the sun, then the hemisphere should have nothing to do with it. It should be not visible on the entire
You
Earth.
also brought up Venus, which was beautiful because that is completely impossible. If it's between us and the sun, there's no way in hell you should be able to see Venus at night.
Exactly.
Good point.
And that is blows my mind almost worse than anything that the ballers, and it has to be that they're just lying because, I mean, I could almost explain that to my kids and they would be able to realize that there's a problem with that.
Yeah, it's not that.
What happened? We see Venus in the. Would you say we see Venus at night or something? What was it?
Yeah, we should never see
Brian probably explains it a little bit better than I do.
Since Venus is in between us and the sun. Go ahead.
Yeah, Venus is in between us and the sun. So if you're on the dark side of Earth, that means you're facing away from the sun. So there should
how
be
would you
no
see
way
Venus at
that
night?
you would ever be able to see Venus at night. And
How
they
would
claim
you?
that.
What?
How could you?
Venus isn't directly between us. and
Well, in reality, we do, right? In reality, we
well,
do.
in the globe model, it is
Venus is
closer
not
to the sun
directly-
than we are.
When they say
They put the
between us
planet.
and the
They
sun-
say the solar system is a plane. If the solar
You're a little
system is
low,
a
Grim.
plane, like
I'll
okay.
fix that.
Yeah, you got to be careful with these. We shouldn't see this in the sky because they've got there's all these angles and the tilt and all this shit that you don't think about. Whenever I think I have something like this, I have a little globe toy here. I actually get the old globe toy out and sit and think about it with it in my hands and look it up, look at the angles online and try to figure it out if it's impossible.
And really,
but you really got to show if you're going to claim it's impossible on a globe that the geometry is actually impossible, including all the tilt and the orbit and all that shit.
yeah, they claim everywhere they
another
claim it like
thing
you're
is,
supposed to be on the
Brandon,
equator, though. The way
I
they do
think
their
that
angle.
we really need to start focusing more on flat Earth proofs and things that verify the flat Earth rather than debunking the globe, because we've demolished the globe for 5 years now, and no matter how many times we demolish it or how many proofs we show, it's just we're pretty much playing into their game by doing that, because as long as we're talking about the globe, I mean, that's what they want.
Yeah, I agree.
So I know it's hard because that's a big part of flat Earth is debunking the globe, but I just think that we all need to kind of start trying to think of ways to kind of phase that out and start actually kind of trying to come up with the correct flat Earth map. And because I remember back in like 2015 when I was first getting into this, I mean, there was people doing all kinds of shit. They were tracking the sun, and I was a part of a Facebook page with like 200,000. Well, no, probably not 200,000, but there was a lot of members, and it was called, I believe it was called Track the Sun, and there was people from all over the Earth on there, and they would document with pictures and theodolite apps where the sun was at sunrise and sunset, and then they were getting these from all over the world, and then there was supposed to be a guy that was compiling them all together and mapping them out, and I don't know whatever happened to the channel because the guy never did ended up mapping out all the data, but I thought that was like a great experiment and could possibly give us at least some answers.
Yeah, I did. I went to when I first got into this. It was like right after the South Carolina conference, and so I think that was 2016, late 2016 or the beginning of 17, and I went and did a sun angle and we went to the beach and we set up a string line on the beach, pointing. We put the compass north, right, and we set the sun due east during the equinox. So yeah, it was September, and 21st, I believe. And the string, sure enough, it wasn't compass east. Okay, it was due east, and the sun came up and it split the string line in half. Man, it was cool. We made a video, but it wasn't on my channel. But I want to say, as far as what we claim, okay, we've come up with legitimate things, and they explain it with phenomenon, okay, because there's got to be. That's why I picked an equatorial constellation, because there has to be an opposite to the sun. And Orion is good as any, but if you pick one where it is exactly opposite the sun, okay, you're not going to be able to see that on Stellarium with their warped shit. But because they try and give you the angles like you're on the equator all the time, if you ask me. But even if you pick one opposite the sun, then it's got to be. They only have 23.6 degrees to play with. There's no getting around it. If the constellation is opposite the sun, they have 23.6 degrees to play with, because that's what their model dictates. But we could be wrong about things, man. But I'm still waiting for a good explanation on that one.
I always feel like too that, which of course I believe in the Bible and that God created all this for us, and I just think that there's always going to be things that we're never going to figure out, and probably things that He created to not be able to be figured out. You know what I mean? Like the way that some things work are just so out of this world that it's not something earthly or a human, I don't even think, could be able to comprehend some of the things that are going on in our skies.
Oh yeah. Well, let's imagine that we're living in a world that was created by someone, like a computer program, and it was programmed to do certain things according to certain rules. And we're looking at stuff, trying to figure stuff out. Who says that everything is going to be obvious or discoverable for, why it is the way it is? Who says we're going to be able to figure it all out as people within the system?
Yeah, and not only that, we didn't make the laws of this system, so we're assuming that the laws that we do know apply to everything. Well, there could be totally different laws for the sky that have nothing to do with the laws here on Earth.
Even here, the more they learn, the more their laws change, and they call it an upgrade. To me, you call it an upgrade all you want. To me, that's shitting on the previous law.
Yeah, that's pretty much them just trying to save their ass and come up with something real quick before too many people wake up.
Yeah, but they've been working on this for 500 years. I don't know how it started. I'd love to know the story, to the origin story, and really see what happened when they started pushing the heliocentric model full bore. But we're like 500 years down the line to this, and people have already forgotten that this was even something that could be contentious.
Yeah,
so
dude,
just real quick.
Go ahead, Travis.
Thanks. Just real quick on what you just said, Brandon. Oh shit! What was I gonna say? I forgot what I was gonna say.
I hate that.
I'm sorry, dude. This is my first time on. I know I'm kind of talking a lot, but I'm excited.
Travis, about updating the laws and shit.
Is it the devil working his ways?
I was talking about there being different laws in the sky, and that there could be basically infinite laws, because just because we have laws here on Earth doesn't mean that it applies to the sky and the heavenly bodies and everything else.
Super helpful.
Yeah,
I don't know if that would ring a bell or not, or refresh your memory, but
you know what's really freaky? One thing I gotta say about this, and one thing we should really focus on, is the repetitive nature of the sky, the Saros cycle. I think that's the most fascinating thing. If we're gonna look up there, why does it always repeat? For example, I can see.
I remember.
With perfection.
Yeah.
Like not the slightest degree shift ever.
Yeah. How is that? Like that just that alone in itself is like.
It's like resonance. It reminds you of like resonance in a crystal or something, you know?
Yeah. Or like
that's a good analogy. Yeah. It's like, okay, so this explosion happened, right? and everything just scattered out and went into this perfect pattern that never fucking changes for all these things.
Not to mention all the life on Earth and our just the human body alone, like, is so complex that I mean, the chances of somebody even intelligent creating one are impossible, let alone just it and creating itself out of nothing.
Has to be a crater.
Yeah, I personally think that's a given, that there's some kind of creating, guiding intelligence. I just don't know how you can deny that. But you know, everybody has their opinion.
Even if we just look at what we know is seemingly intelligent, like the electricity, how it behaves in certain ways with other materials to combine itself. Those materials
The Earth is really like a giant living organism.
Yeah. But the way this, you know, you can take electricity to stones and eventually through the recombination of the molecules, you'll end up with amino acids and glycols and shit like this that are precursors to the beginning of life out of nothing but dead stones and shit. So it kind of brings you around to the idea that maybe that is the intelligent thing. This electrical force that we're not paying enough attention to.
Oh, I've had that thought too. Yeah,
seems to hold all the information that we need in it.
That would make a lot of sense. I've got some crazy thoughts about that though, Grim. Like, I kind of suspect one of my little things to think about is that they have blocked that we had access to this force, that we were connected with it, our minds were. And that's how we used to communicate. And then we have been blocked from communication with this force somewhere along the way. And now they're taking advantage of our inability to communicate and to be in touch with this force. I think there's more to that.
Think of it like this. If we were in a much higher energetic electric field, there might have been, I don't know, our tuners and our receivers and our brains may have had more to work with in the medium, so they would work. And then as a result of natural phenomenon of, we discharging or whatever we did to equal out our electric fields, changed our DNA and everything, since the electric fields also alter DNA. Then all that stuff seems to have maybe been through one event of the changing of the electric fields, the killing off of a bunch of different types of animals, the mutations of all these other animals and humans. You know what I mean? So I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'm just speculating, but who the hell knows? It's all too coincidental and put together for anybody to convince me that this is just an accident and that this Earth was created via an explosion, and it just happens that the sun is in the perfect position and the Earth's tilted at the perfect rate to maximize the usable amount of space upon this sphere. That's a lot to swallow. But
yeah, it's also ridiculous. Yeah. And I want to apologize real quick to everyone. I'm kind of excited because it's the first time I've been on, so I apologize if I erupt anyone. I'm trying to control myself, and I'll get better at it. So,
oh, no problem, Josh. We all been there, man.
I hope there's no hard feelings.
No, don't worry about it, man. It's been nice to have you on.
Real fast. Going back to the last thing you were talking about if they knew this, when they first thought of it. And I've struggled with that a lot too, because at first I thought, it was strictly satanic and that they just wanted to go against the word of God. So they came up with the most, opposite model that they could that went against his word. But then as the years went by, I started thinking, well, there may have been some people like that, in the day, but I do believe, just like today, that a lot of people were deceived. And at that time, there was a lot of deep thinkers and theologists, and they all wanted to be touted as the smartest. And, so they were probably just sitting around all day trying to think of crazy things, how the universe works, how this works. So they made up this idea of how the Earth works thinking probably in their head that it actually could be true, and then started doing some tests that actually seemed like they were matching up, because the way the flat earth is, it almost presents it a ball during certain times. And then I think that they actually was a group of people that really thought it was round, and then I think there was another evil, smaller group that knew, but I don't think they were affiliated. You know what I mean?
Think
And
about it, man. Think of all the things they've learned, man. Like it'd be so much easier if you know circles. Okay, you're going to be able to map out the Earth, map out the sun, map out the stars, and doing a circle. It's so much easier. People think the flat Earth is primitive, like cavemen. No, trying to figure out perspective and all that, it's way freaking harder to try and do that shit mathematically. But we've come a long way. We've got computers on our side now. If we could get more people on our team, like you say, get that software. That's a great idea. I'd pitch in on that. And it's
yeah,
more
I'm telling you
complicated trying
guys,
to use perspective, you know.
if you haven't seen that video yet, what you need to watch it and just really pay attention to what it means and the capabilities of it, because it's mind blowing. I've brought it up a couple times, and Globers you can tell they're scared to death of it, but I don't know enough about it to really argue with them. So it kind of doesn't go anywhere. But somebody that, studied up on it and was a good debater, I'm telling you, they would have no answer for it.
Right,
Not
I
trying to sound
actually
like
took that
not
on.
trying to sound like
video. Brandon, can you post it or what? Where can we see this video?
I think Josh was going to post the link to it, but
Jay Tolan Media.
let me go into.
Sorry, I don't.
That's all right.
I don't have the ability to post it right here. This is my first time getting on. I can barely figure out how to just get on and talk to you guys right now.
Yeah, I
so.
don't think anybody's going to expect you to, especially if you're on your phone doing it.
Yeah, don't worry about it, man.
I
We'll
will
find it.
post
I'll
in the
look.
comments
I'll look for it,
afterwards.
or if you find it,
yeah,
post it, Josh, and
I've
that's
got
pretty cool.
it saved, and it's still on his
yeah, they'll help
page,
each other out in here.
all
if
right.
you got something and somebody will look it up for you if they're on their computer, probably. Usually.
But yeah, it's just called J. Tolan Media photogrammetry software. Anybody could look it up and bring it up right now if you want.
Yeah.
If I had the capability, I do. I'm on a phone right now too, so
That's all right. I did try to look it up, Josh, during the show, and I couldn't find the exact video, but I'll look for it. But we need to go into final thoughts. It's getting pushing 8 o'clock, and I am getting hungry. So why don't we start off? We'll go in alphabetical order, and Grim, since he has a hashtag, is always first in alphabetical. Go for it, man.
All right. Yeah, I just wanted to say hey to everybody out here. Keep up the good, thinking and stuff. I know a lot of people don't agree with you. I sometimes don't agree with you on a lot of stuff, but I like to focus on the stuff we do agree on. That helps us get headway on shit, So that's why I'm here. I'm not here to tear shit apart. I'm here to focus on stuff we agree on. Thanks, everybody.
You're the man, Grim.
Yeah, awesome, Grim. Allie. Allie B. No? Brian.
Yeah, man. Yeah, that's a good thing, man. We don't need to argue too much about. We all got different ideas. We come together. I think this channel is in the forefront of that. And this is supposed to be the year. Ranty challenged us to just as good as any challenge to try and figure out the sun. So that's what I've been working on, is the sun. And I'm starting off with what do I see? Okay, what are some phenomenon, and trying to find unexplained shit, like that pilot, how he left. He watched the sun go down behind him. 2 hours later, he sees the sun off to the west. I think he said the northwest a little bit, poking its head up over the horizon for a minute. So it's anomalies like that are clues. And yeah, we might be wrong about 90% of everything we say as far as the globe goes, because they can always come up with explanations, man. But I say we keep poking. It's fun. To me, this is it's philosophy, man. It's but there's a certain amount of science we can put into it, man. But I think we start with, like I said, what we see. And one last thing, I'm gonna break that video down and elaborate on it into like 2 separate videos. So go to my channel, Flat Earth Test Man, and I'll give some good starting points on where we could go and trying to model out the sun over a plane. And we got to start somewhere. So let's put our heads together, man.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you bringing that presentation. That was good stuff, man. Flat Earth Aussie. Gadget Inspector.
Phenomenal. Do 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 do. Phenomenal. Do 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 do. Phenomenal. Do 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 do. Phenomenal.
Oh, did someone just call me?
Great, Randy. Thank you very much. Great show.
Thanks, Gadget. Flat Earth Aussie. Yeah, we're doing final thoughts. I just did you have any final words before we shut the show down?
All right. I wasn't really paying attention. Didn't realize you were shutting down. Yeah, I would definitely like to talk about how the firmament works and how the nature of light itself works. It's completely not what you'd expect, and so that's why the globe model tends to make sense to people who don't understand how the nature of light itself works. But the fact that space itself is dark tells me that the atmosphere is what actually creates the light. It's stimulated by the sun, so obviously the sun plays its role, but the sun itself isn't necessarily the source of light and heat. The light and heat actually comes from Earth itself, and that's probably why the moon is also illuminated on the underneath side, plus clouds. It's a pretty deep topic. It's something that I would like to have a bit of time to talk about, but anyway, here's what it is.
It sounds pretty interesting, man. Yeah, feel free to join the panel anytime. We can talk about light, especially fascinates me. So thank you.
Yeah. No worries. It's a huge topic, and it's something that, no pun intended, shouldn't be taken lightly.
Right. I didn't catch what you said there at the end. What was that?
And no pun intended, it shouldn't be taken lightly.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, it has huge implications. All right, thanks.
It's massive.
Yep.
No worries.
Thank you. Global Virus Foe.
Good listening to you guys.
Thank you. Global Virus Foe, no? Travis.
Yeah, shout out to Brian Leaky and Josh for coming on and sharing his thoughts. I'm not going to be able to do it justice, but what you were talking about earlier about the program and the programmer, and if we think about those who have constructed the heliocentric model, it wasn't the farmers, right? So you got to think about the whole Emperor's New Clothes story motif, right? The theme of it is that you have these men who control a narrative, and they then find a way to impose that narrative on the masses. So it was a very small group of scientists who start to reconstruct the model of the world system. Now the farmer, he doesn't know anything about it. He looks at the sun and the sky and they move. But then you've got this small group of people that construct this this new narrative, and that's where you and I are. You know, like we're talking about the story that is being passed down to us from a group of people that are completely dislocated from us. So that's kind of where I was trying to go before, and I knew that I wasn't going to be able to remember it all. But anyway, great show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Travis. Appreciate it. Let's see here. Jedi Josh.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. I love you guys, man. It's almost like talking to family. I've been listening for years, but just never really built up the courage to call in. So I know I interrupted some people a few times, and I hope there's no hard feelings on that. I'm just excited and trying to get everything out at once, and I feel like I've got a lot more stuff to offer, but I was kind of so nervous I was bumbling over my words tonight. So hopefully next time will be a little bit better. But yeah, other than that, Brian, awesome test, dude, and you're always putting in the work and coming up with great ideas. You really been inspiring me a lot to try to do some, think of some tests and try to figure this thing out, because to me, I feel like, after 5 years, yeah, it's fun and I enjoy the people, but we need to start making some progress. Even we're on limited funds and I know we've got tons of problems, but I just feel like we really need to figure out how to move this thing forward and get a little bit more ammo, as you could say. Another thing that I'm going to post that link in the chat or in the comments after this video for anybody that wants to see it. And then I think that would be a great topic for one of the shows on here. I actually took it on to Jose's and tried to talk about it, but it was my first show ever being on, and I got nervous and didn't study it well firsthand, so it didn't go too well. But that was a long time ago, and they seemed scared to death of it, even though I was pretty fresh on researching it myself. They didn't want nothing to do with it because they were smart enough to realize what it meant. But yeah, dude, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you've been on here forever, but everybody have a good night, and maybe I'll see you guys next show.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining, Josh. It was good to have you. All
Yeah,
right.
I love it, man. Randy's been my man for a long time. I wish he was on tonight so I could have said hey to him.
He was a little bit.
I love you too, man.
I think he's still here.
You were the.
I'm here right now.
Hey, what's up, Randy?
Hey, Jedi. You right, mate?
Yeah, I've went by many different names. I've been watching your channel since the start, but yeah, I just want to say hey to you, and I'm glad you're doing all right. And sorry about the hard times lately.
Cheers, Jedi. Much appreciated, man.
You've always been one of my favorites, dude. You've been my go-to show forever. So, just want to give you some props while you're on here, and really like Brandon too. I don't think you could have picked a better person. So. Yeah, I think that big things are coming this year. I think a lot of people are coming up with really good ideas, and it's going to be bad news for the globe.
Hell yeah. Thanks, Josh. Appreciate the compliment, too. Jeremy.
2021's our year. We need to start putting our fucking heads together. All right, first of all, 2 things. 1, we forgive you for interrupting however it is going in your file. 2, we need to have everyone brainstorming on how to either make a straight line or give us something that will only operate in a straight line. Something we need to make a straight line so we can go over some water with it and see if it's fucking a height difference. That's all.
Hell yeah. I still think that's the experiment to do. Thanks, Jeremy. Jimbo.
Water levels with vinyl tubing, $300 per 1,000 foot. Great show, and be back tomorrow, and hope the after show is good too.
Cool. Thanks, Jimbo. George. Ranty.
Hey.
What up?
Yeah, excellent show tonight, Brandon. I enjoyed the opening part, actually, with all the different stuff that you talked about. That was really interesting, especially about the World War II, etc. So if anybody's interested in that, maybe go back and listen to the start of the show because it was pretty great. But the next year is just going to be awesome. That's the way I feel. I mean, now that I've, given the channel to Brandon's taking over. He's doing all this awesome stuff. He's getting the guests in, and he's taking the show in a whole new direction, which is just fantastic. I feel that it's given me the opportunity to do things that, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do. So I still have the agenda to go down to Australia. That's a plan, to do this year, providing that, COVID rules allow us to do this. And if that's the case, I can do all the star trails down there. So that is definitely on the go. And the research that's going on right now is just fantastic. There's a lot of people out there that are putting channels together and doing work, and they have a platform to build upon, because when we were doing this 5 years ago, 4 years ago, we really had a lot of people standing on our shoulders and trying to stamp us into the mud. Whereas now it's, you know, the more channels that pop up and the more people that do this research, it becomes more of an avalanche. So if you have got the technology or the drive to actually do any kind of research, I would absolutely advise you now to get in there right now. Now's the time. Start putting this research together. Look at other people, what they've done, expand upon that, and put the information out there. Come on panels like this, go on other places and tell them what you found, because you will see that if you look back 5 years ago where we were to where we are now, you will understand that we have drastically improved the knowledge that we have in regards to flat Earth, globe Earth debate. So it's all about the research now, and I'm all for that. So thumbs up, Brandon, and anybody that wants to get stuck in, definitely get stuck in right now. Now's the time.
Thank you, Randy.
Absolutely. Well said, Ranty. Thanks, man. SE.
Yes, sir. What a great show tonight. Wow. Shout out Ranty and yourself and Brian and our new friend here, Jedi. What I found fascinating was the creation versus the Big Bang thing. Put a lot of thought into that throughout the years. And so let's say we give them the Big Bang, right? Bang, you have all the matter, you have all the stuff, right? So an equivalent would give you all the parts of the 747. We lay them out on the runway. Every bolt is disassembled, right? Now, you got to see, it's all about information, right? Without the book to tell you how to put this together, without a creator, right, who created this and gave the information, how are you going to put this plane together? And if by chance you do, how are you going to figure out it needs gasoline and then figure out navigation and all this stuff? See what I'm saying? So any way you slice it, there has to be a creator in the picture. That's my idea. So great show and peace out, everybody.
Thanks, SE. Appreciate it. Bob Dole.
I'm good. I don't think I have anything to add really right now.
Okay. Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I thought it was a great conversation.
Can I say one last thing, please,
okay.
Brandon?
Yeah, go for it.
I would like to apologize to the real Bob Dole. I was a little bit out of line yesterday, so I apologize, bro. That's it.
All right. Thanks, SE.
Apology accepted, SE Montreal.
Thank you, Bobby Ranty. I mean, Bobby Ranty.
Bob wants to make him suffer. I don't think he forgives him. We'll see. We'll check on that tomorrow. Maybe Bob's just being quiet.
Wait, was someone talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, SE sounds kind of quiet, so I wasn't really hearing what he was saying. What was he saying?
He was apologizing to you, Bob.
I'm sorry.
Nice troll.
Good stuff. Yeah, thank you to the panel. Really appreciate it. Really good, interesting show. I like these discussions, and I really like when people bring a presentation or a video to the channel and have gone out there and thought about stuff and done some work. So kudos to you, Brian. Thanks for bringing it here. Appreciate it. I look forward to the 2 videos you released, and I did put your channel link out in chat. I'm going to do it one more time. Looks like you've picked up a couple of subscribers, but go ahead and subscribe to Brian Leaky if you haven't. He's out there doing actual work and has a lot of stuff to say, a lot of good stuff to share. Thanks, everybody. I'll be back. I will record the after show in case anybody's going to stick around. And thanks again.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was an interesting show. So a little worried at the beginning there when we started talking about World War II, where that was going, but it seemed to stay a pretty above the board good conversation. So not too bad. A lot of pitfalls, especially on YouTube when you start talking about that stuff. And Brian's stuff, man, Brian always surprises me, the stuff that he says, the stuff that he comes up with, the things that he points out. He's got a lot of enthusiasm, more than many of the people that I know, and I don't think he gets enough credit for being a free thinker and a man of action. So kudos to Brian. We'll be back tomorrow night, Tomorrow's Wednesday, so we'll see what happens. Oh, that's right. We've got a debate tomorrow between Paige and Space Pope, Babs. So they were duking it out in chat yesterday, and they're going to come here tomorrow for a debate. So look for that. That should be interesting. Knowing those two, there will probably be some fireworks. I would be shocked if there isn't. So stop back in, 5:05 Eastern Standard Time. And until then, we will see you tomorrow. Thanks everybody in chat. Have a good night. Adios.